best team in London, no, the best team of all. Everybody knows us, we call them Millwall. Let them come, let them come, let them come. Let them all come down to the den. It's Saturday, Congo Lane, we've all come down to cheer. We've had our jelly deals and our glass of beer. Come rain or shine all the time, our families will bring. And as the Lions run on the pitch, everyone will sing. Let them come, let them come, let them come. Let them all come down to the den. Let them come, let them come, let them come. We'll only have to beat them again. It's the best team in London, no, the best team of all. Everybody knows us, we're called Millwall. Let them come, let them come, let them come. Let them all come down to the den. It's Saturday in Congo Lane, we've all come down to cheer. We've had our jelly deals and our glass of beer. Come rain or shine all the time, our families will bring. And as the Lions run on the pitch, everyone will sing. Let them come, let them come, let them come. Let them all come down to the den. Let them come, let them come, let them come. We'll only have to beat them again. It's the best team in London, no, the best team of all. Everybody knows us, we're called Millwall. Let them come, let them come, let them come. Let them all come down to the den. Let them all come down to the den.
Lions TV, good evening. If you do come down to the den, you'll get fucked up in the last 4 or 5 weeks. That's for sure. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Managed to get this one on the go tonight. We are still waiting on H. Anthony, good to have you back, mate. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, it's good to be back.
Good to be back, mate. Glad to have you on board. I'm very much, obviously, was Rowett out. As I think 90% of the last podcast was 4 weeks ago. I've got the exact date here, 25th of January. So, yeah, pretty much an entire month plus 3 days. Kenny is Rowett out. I don't think he's joining us tonight. H is very much Rowett in, and he took some serious shit. He took some serious shit. I was expecting him to rock in here tonight like Conor McGregor, but I think he's putting H Jr. to bed. So not with us yet, mate. But it'd be good to get your input. Let's start out with previous to the last 5 weeks. How did you think we've been doing? And tell us about an encounter you had. You just told me off screen.
Yeah, in January. So you're talking about January to begin with, right? How our performances were then.
Yeah, up till that point, yeah, where it looked like it was shaky. It's funny because I always wondered what you thought. So it'd be good to get your thoughts now.
It's to be fair, I've had it penned up in me for a while, like needing to. I've not really said my piece on the channel for a while. The thing is, I break it down is like it's in my mind is the clear point was that Palace game, first game of the new year. Obviously, look, it didn't really matter whether we went through or not in the cup. Probably in the long run now does our league form a world of good not being in any competition as much as we all love a cup run. But I think there's something in that Palace, even though we weren't playing great before Christmas, there was something in that Palace game where it just seemed like the confidence got knocked out of them after that, because I think we played well against Palace, with proper Millwall performance, and obviously their quality just kind of shone through there. But after that, it just kind of seemed like they weren't really. Obviously, look, a lot of the stick has to go down to the manager because he was putting the team out, he was setting up the same way, with the same sort of setup in the sense of teams come and attack us, and it was whether we were playing more decent teams or the ones that on paper we should be beating. Now, if you're a manager and you're doing stuff like that, the stick's going to come your way, and I think if he hand on heart, I think he would probably have done January differently, because after that Palace game there was a massive hangover. Now the encounter you're talking about, I was actually on the Jubilee line going to London Bridge after work. Had a couple drinks, I looked up and I was like, I couldn't believe it because it's like 9 p.m. on a Wednesday. I didn't really think he'd be out at that time. And yeah, I just approached him. I asked him how he thought.
You bumped into Gary Rowett on the tube.
On the Jubilee line, yeah. And it was so bizarre. I still had like, to be fair, I'd noticed him about probably the second stop into my journey. I still had another 5, so I was like, if I don't go up to him now, it's just going to be a quick one. So I made sure I went up to him, spoke to him about how he thought the season went. Obviously, I had my strong opinions, but we're on the tube. I'm not really going to make him feel uncomfortable. Yeah, so he told me, he said obviously it wasn't good enough, and I put my little bit in. I said, like, how about something like on the hour mark, if it's still like close or we're still in it, why don't we go forward at the back and put an extra body in midfield? He smiled and said, I mean, yes, it's definitely an idea. And I don't want to boast, but since I did bump into him, our performances have picked up.
Yeah, you have seemed to have had a positive fucking rub off on it, because
I should have asked to get on the backroom staff, get Mini Pulis back in. But yeah, no, I think all in all, I think from February, although the results weren't going our way from the get-go, I think we have shown, obviously it's coincided with us losing a ton of players. It was getting a joke at one point. Like every day I was going on my phone and seeing another player was injured. Our loan players were injured, which you kind of have to look at the scouts there and ask, these players didn't have great injury form prior to coming to us. They weren't bad signings, and they could still come in, some of them, and make an impact, which we hope they do. But the fact our squad's gone down to the bare bones now, I think some of the players, it suits their character. Players like Hutchinson, Murray Wallace, Billy Mitchell. Bennett's really come to life with sort of the impetus been put on him as one of our main attackers now. Jed coming back in obviously has helped things, and Rowett did mention that when I bumped into him. He's like, not having Wallace in and around the squad on a match day, you kind of feel like you're going in without your best weapon. And I know he does get stick because Wallace isn't consistent over the course of the season, but when he's on the ball, you kind of do get excited, and I think that was lost at the Den for a little bit.
So you wasn't enjoying. You said to me you wasn't.
It was enjoying it. Some of the games, if I had something to do as well, iFollow's been great as well with it coming to the UK now. Some of the games I just watched on iFollow because they were disappointing me, especially towards the end of January. But going into Feb and going to the games again, I've started to enjoy it. Just not even because we're playing the most attractive football, but we're chasing balls down. When we're on the attack now, we are taking care with what we're doing. Before, our end product was, abysmal. And that's been the story of Millwall's life in the Championship, really. Last couple of seasons we've been knocking on the door. But if we're all being honest, we lack that end product. And it doesn't even need a proven striker or proven attackers from other teams. It is, some of the time it was down to the fact that we would get into the positions and we'd rush it. And sometimes when you're on the attack after, suffering 10 minutes of the opposition on the ball, we break away, but there's no need to, try and force attacks. And it wasn't a surprise that our shots on target over the last few seasons has been something that we've really needed to work on. Because if you look at the stats over the last few years and see how many shots we have on target in each game, if we bump those numbers up, it's just simple maths that we're more likely to score 1 or 2 more. But more positively, February has been a month where we've somehow managed to stay in the league in terms of being competitive. Because first week of February, I kind of thought, right, let's just not embarrass ourselves here and get ourselves stuck down the other end and solidify a mid-table spot. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. But if we have a solid March, then we will be in the hunt for that playoff spot. But the key word is March is big, with big fixtures against Borough, I think QPR, I think Huddersfield, who are doing very well. Blackburn is a big game as well. They're up there. So Reading away is going to be a big one because when we usually, famously when we start doing well, we end up dropping points against sides we should be getting a result from. Sort of Barnsley come to mind when we're in form and we've got to play them. Reading aren't doing great, but they've got something to play for. So
there's our next 5 on the screen. You are right, mate, and I think Gary Rowett has alluded to this previously that he's put a little bit on the players at times, and he said they just need that belief. We get to a certain stage, a certain point where we're within reach of that top 6, and like you say, we're a small club, small budget. We have to take a punt on sometimes players that. I don't think it's disrespectful to say potentially on the way down or potentially talents that haven't materialised as they should have done in their career. And we accept that. We know that's the sort of club we are. We have to. That's the way we operate. But I just feel, mate, in the last 3 or 4 games, the last 3 especially, something's just shifted. Something's just changed. But let's wind it back. We're going to look through all these results. H will be sick he's not in the chat. And by the way, H said, although he was Rowett in, he expected him to be gone by now because of the running we've had, mate. But the last 7 games, that was it. The last 7 games since the last podcast, Millwall 2, West Brom 0.
Yeah.
I actually forgot about Preston. I had to add that into the notes. Millwall 0, Preston 0. And then obviously, I always say, with the exception of Fulham and potentially...
Yeah, I don't count Fulham. Like, they're just different. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the next 4, Cardiff win. But this is where we really kicked on, in my opinion. QPR, Derby. A few people having a little gripe about Derby. You can't dominate teams for 90 minutes.
Mate, Derby, right? They shouldn't be where they are in terms of what they've achieved as a team so far, right? If I don't know the numbers because I've not looked, I've not done a research on it, but I'm sure if Derby didn't have that deduction, they'd probably be near the top end of the table fighting with us. Rooney's done a brilliant job there, and 2-1 at Pride Park. But yeah, you're right. From watching the game, it wasn't pretty because Derby like to play pretty football. They got players that are capable on the ball. Look, I love Billy. Like he epitomizes why I go. To be honest, got an engine, good passing range, and he wants to be there. But him and Saville together, against players that, are probably a bit more talented than them. Doesn't mean they're better players, but just on the ball and the way Rooney wants to play, let them have the ball. We'll break them down. We'll win the second. And the one thing I think that's really changed, I banged on about it when I used to be on the channel before, is anytime we've gone into a game and made sure our second ball rate is high, I don't think I've seen us lose. I genuinely, even under Harris, I genuinely don't think I've ever seen us lose, especially a big game where we've won 80 to 90% of them second balls. And that's what Billy does perfectly. And obviously Saville does have that bit of quality, he's played at a decent level. And I think, Derby did play good football against us, but we're away from home and we went with a game plan, which is what I think Rowett is doing for the last 5, 6, 7 games. There's a game plan there. And I think you probably touched upon it before. Like, look, if we go and we lose, it's fine, but lose with a plan. I can see what they tried to do. The Palace game, I wasn't even sad because I knew what we tried to do. But with cup games, it's easy to do that because it's a one-off. And he just failed to do that in the league. And, it might just be... The January might cost us in the long run if we're trying to get this 6th, 5th spot. And that'll be down to Rowett. That'll be on him. But, all he can do now is negotiate this March. I'm not saying win every game because it's a very tricky run of fixtures. But, if we can pick up a point in certain games where our backs are against the wall, maybe pick up two wins, we'll still be there. And in April and May, we can have a go. But, notoriously, we fall short towards the end of the season. Like, I think, was it last season or season when we went to QPR and we bottled it?
That was right at the end. I think we lost 4-3, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we actually did score, didn't we? Late doors. And it got disallowed. But what you're saying there is spot on for me. And you're saying, when we win these second balls, and you've noticed it, I've noticed it, for me, as good as the QPR game was, and we say as Mill fans, we don't expect flair performances and back flicks and fantastic goals, which we did get. But it's the Sheffield United game. The grit and the determination. For me,
because they're a good team. They're a good championship
and
team.
we didn't let them play, mate. I'm not. By the way, I'll defend Rowett with the Derby thing because people saying we should have kicked on them 1-4-0. We need a reality check. That's not going to fucking happen.
Away from home, it just doesn't happen like that.
No, and then the Sheffield game, even as well with the West Brom game, and other games we played recently, and the QPR game, people going, well, it was good, but we should have kicked on. We should have done this and that, and those opposition we played didn't turn up. For me, I'm going to give the manager and the team credit. I don't think they didn't turn up. I just think because we imposed ourselves, because we was high press, and because we was a lot more intense than we have been, we just didn't allow them to get into the game. Like you said, Sheffield United, not a bad side.
Yeah, they aren't. I think they probably want to be higher than they are, but I think that this season's been trickier than I thought it would be. I think a few seasons ago was when the championship had really big teams in it. Last season, I think we were frustrated because it seemed like the poorest championship in a while. This season has surprised me a bit because I thought it wouldn't pick up too much in quality, but I think I can say the top 7, top 8 teams, on their day are going to be a challenge. So I think, looking realistically as well, and Gary Rowett's probably realised this too, is like if we can stay in the game on the hour mark, I think we have enough quality to grab a goal. And on top of that, I think our defence is good enough 7-8 times out of 10 to keep a clean sheet. Look, our clean sheet stats are very good for European football. I think I saw a stat on Twitter. It's like only Edison has more clean sheets in the last 2-3 seasons.
I saw that. It's absolutely crazy.
So I'm saying, like, if you look at it, football isn't all about stats, but if you look at it as simply as this, we keep clean sheets a lot. And on top of that, maybe we concede one here and there. If we can keep that nucleus, if that Ballard's come back as well now.
Some player, Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I really think Arsenal should give him us another season because we've been conned there with 3 months.
No, what? No, he's older than I realised, Ballard.
Yeah, he's in his early 20s. I thought he'd be a teenager, but
as good as he is, I don't think he's going to get that chance. I think they're going to keep buying players.
The one thing that makes him fit into our team so well is that he can play, which is what we've needed in us. I know Cooper has his moments, but he does look awkward at times. And Hutchinson's very much, more of an old school centre half.
Okay, I'll keep having this debate with my best mate. He sent me Sean Hutchinson's stats. Okay, by the way, big thanks. We're going to get on to Cooper now. Ben Levy, thanks so much for the donation, mate. Super chats are open. You can donate to the channel through the comments if you wish. I will just say as well, we're 30 subscribers away from 17,000. So if we get there tonight on air, it'll be fantastic. Ben Levy says, Jake Cooper, 27 years old, 240 appearances, our contract next summer. Does he stay? For me, he can't do better. Not good enough for his feet. There you go. But perfect for Wall, future legend. I'll start this off by saying this. My best mate sent me Hutchinson's stats and went absolutely shocking. And I said, maybe it was I was a goalkeeper, but I'd have this argument when I used to play at an half-decent standard, and even vets. They'd come and have a pop at us further up the pitch and say, listen, me and my back four will keep a clean sheet. So you just score them, and you do your job and we'll do ours.
Yeah.
However, I did say that I'm contradicting myself. I wanted to see more football at the Den.
Yeah.
So for me, maybe I'm a little bit caveman in my beliefs here. Defenders defend. Keep the fucking ball out the net, and we're fucking halfway there. But you're right, and Ben says it, and my best mate says it, that Cooper, and Hutchinson, not so good with their feet. For me, it's not an issue.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is the weird thing is like I think there's not a problem with them. It's not a case of going, look, they can't play with their feet. Let's find centre backs that can, because look, we're going to play 3 centre backs under Rowett, and you know what? A lot of managers are doing it now. So more than likely, our next manager will probably play similar. Look, Cooper and Hutchinson, for what we can have, is as good as you can possibly imagine. And guess what? There's other championship teams that would take them. But this is where we've struggled with this third centre-back option, because Murray Wallace can go in there, and trust me, he puts in a shift, he does. but I think he is better off on out wide because he's improved. He's improved going forward, and his low block when wingers are coming through, it just suits him. It does suit him. So I think we've been struggling with that third centre back option because Pearce, when he comes in, he does a job, but that's only when he comes in. Over the course of 10, 15 games, I'm no disrespect to the guy, but I think it is a bit too past it now in terms of that. So I think we was last season. One thing we were missing from the sort of jigsaw was a centre back that was comfortable with his feet but could mix it up. Because at the end of the day, us as a team, we sit back a lot, so we're inviting balls into the box, and Ballard ticks both boxes. He does what Cooper's trying to do, because Cooper does like to push on as that third left-sided centre back, and it's effective. I'm not saying he's amazing on the ball, but it's effective.
Yeah, we've seen his goal. I mean, the goal away at Charlton.
Yeah, that one.
Brings to mind where he gets in the box from a Mitchell Cross.
That's what he's capable of. I'm not saying he does it every time because he doesn't, but he's capable of that. Hutchinson pretty much more of a good tackler, good in the air, and Ballard kind of does a bit of both. So I think he's been successful with us because his style suits what we need, and it actually adds a bit of possession because even as something as simple as getting the ball to the centre mid as quickly as possible. Sometimes it takes Hutchinson and Cooper 1 or 2 extra touches. In a level like that can be the difference sometimes.
Mate, well, listen, everything you're saying I completely agree with, and my best mate will be, I know he doesn't always agree with people on our channel, but the thing is, with the centre-halves, there is a ready-made centre-half there, right? His name's Hayden Muller, and trust me, he's a fucking player.
Yes,
he's a ball player, and for me now, this is a minor criticism I've got of Rowett. In fairness, now we could be pushing for the playoffs, but Pearce is there. Pearce is leaving at the end of the season. Okay, he's not going to get another contract. He only got one this year because I think it just suited us to have him there and Smith and
he's a good offered him reduced terms around the place. Of course, yeah.
And then so Pearce is going to leave. We're not going down. I keep saying we're not going up. We'll look at the league table later. We're 5 points off the playoffs, of course, and Luton currently sit in 6th. Maybe I'm a bit of pundit or a bit of opinionated, because I said about 4 weeks ago I've got a sneaky suspicion Luton will get in the top 6. So maybe I look down on Mill too much, but Luton are currently there. Why are we not giving Hayden Muller a run? Why is Hayden Muller not on the bench instead of Alex Pearce? I know he's good to have around the place, but how much influence can he have with kicking a fucking football? That's what
I think. I wouldn't have mentioned Hayden Muller as something that was completely wrong with Rowett's tenure. Like so far, I know that's not what you're trying to say, but you do make a good point, because when you look at it, Danny Mack's come in, done a good job. Obviously, it was obvious to everyone that he suited the way we played, and he's a good footballer. Billy Mitchell, again, he's been brought in, trusted him a bit more, getting more game time, and look, he's sort of come into his own in that role. And then Tyler, more recently, is come in, got a couple goals, and on top of that, it's not just the goals. He does look like he wants to do what a lot of Millwall fans have been wanting their attacker to do for ages: take on a man, look, go forward, look exciting. He's by no means the finished product.
He's really surprised me, Tyler. I've got to be honest with you. He used to do everything he did for the 23s, but he had absolutely zero end product. But now he's
my fear with him was that he kind of got in the position, and then he didn't even know what he was going to do next. So that was my fear with him. But in the last few games, even the games he's come in and hasn't scored, he's making an impact. He's getting the ball and he's driving at defenders, and he's getting balls in good areas. Now, it's never always going to come off, especially when you're a player, that's come through the 23s at championship level. And, but this is back to Hayden. Surely Gary Rowett can see now that he's given some younger players a chance, and it's worked.
Yeah. That was the thing for me as well on the weekend, and I can't criticise it because we won the game. But Bennett limps out, and you've got Lovelace there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying he's going to set the world alight, but why not bring him on instead of Evans? Why bring Evans on? It's a strange one. H, good evening, sir. Fashionably late.
Mate, I'm so sorry. This is partly my poor timekeeping, and then also just having a complete absolute meltdown. And I was like, oh, blimey, it's 8:15. And then trying to set up a laptop and get anyway, Apologies, I'm here. And how you do, mate? Sorry.
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Just
Go on, Ant. Sorry, mate.
yeah. What was I saying?
Lovelace.
Lovelace. Yeah. George Evans gets a bit of stick as well. I'm not defending him either, but again, when fans expect, I don't know what they expect, like Busquets or whoever else, but like, look, he does a job. It's not a great job, but you know,
say that again.
He's not someone that makes the team worse. That's as much as I'd say.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad squad player to have. I thought it was a strange decision, but again, it's not really a decision you can argue with. Henry Morgan, you got some serious shit, friend, in a podcast we did about a month ago. And us, here's your time, mate. You said, despite you saying you was Rowett in, you expected him to be gone. Has it surprised you, H?
Yeah. To be fair, the players, Dan, have surprised me. Stepping up, we all of a sudden seem to have got do you know what? I see a lot of this, we want our Millwall back sort of narrative online through various different channels, which I don't necessarily disagree with. Definitely got it back in some of those performances. I mean, the West Brom second half was fantastic. I mean, we made them look ordinary. The Preston game was a bit of a lull, but there were about 400 people there.
I just said to Anthony, I've put some pictures in, and I went through I made some notes, and then I checked quickly. I went, oh shit, Preston! I forgot all about that game. So let's wind it back, boys. Wind it back to the West Brom game. Let's start with the West Brom game. Off the back of a defeat at Blackpool. At this point, I released a video on the channel saying, I've seen enough. I can't keep doing this. So, again, for me, the first half, and I'm an impatient fucker. I covered this yesterday in my post-match. The first half for me was a non-event, and I was ready to fucking blow my top and say, get him out. And then the second half, we showed up.
Yeah, big time, right?
The Fulham game aside.
But even at Fulham, Dan, second half, we had enough chances to make that a draw. The third goal, I really discount, to be honest, because it comes so late in the day that the game was over in my eyes. We was pushing on for that. Benicophobe's got to score. Jed Wallace should have scored, and if he'd been fit, he probably would have, and if he'd played more games, he probably would have. I think that. Cheers, got some chocolate for dinner.
By the way, I'm drinking wine. I'm in a hotel in Newcastle, so I've just got a fucking tea.
Have you got a nice view of the Tyne Bridge, Dan?
I did have to go in the lobby, but they've stuck me out the back.
I think in that game, the difference is Mitrovic, right? He gets two chances.
He shouldn't be allowed to play in this league.
No, he shouldn't.
They should have a league for Norwich and Fulham just to play it out. Just them two
forever. They should just be stuck in a league forever.
I'll tell you something as well, right? There's been a lot of stuff about fans invading the pitch and all this, all things are getting out of hand. If you score a goal and then go to celebrate in front of the home fans, then deliberately turn around and run across to where the away fans are. If someone comes on the pitch and clumps you, you deserve it. End of, right?
Well,
I'm really sorry.
But
what he did, it did. What Mitrovic did, and I don't know what's the point he's making. He earns more in 1 week than most of our squad do in an entire season, and he's celebrating in front of us. Honestly, it was back in the days. People would have been launching seats and everything else they could have at him, and I was actually quite proud that everyone just sort of stood there and went, "What's your point, mate? You earn $100,000 a week. Why don't you fuck off?" And sorry, Dan, I know we shouldn't be swearing. Why don't you go somewhere else and do that? There were people putting their feet through chairs around me, and I was like, why are you doing that?
We'll see him again in 2 seasons.
Exactly. But yeah, that was disappointing. I thought, I didn't think I thought really the best bet we could have had there was on 4.5 or over goals, and they were
they were beating things like 6-7-0 like before us.
Exactly right, mate. Yeah, I think there was an 8 in there as well, wasn't there? So you got that. So yeah,
I think they're the exception. I think they're the exception to the rule, Fulham. I think everyone just accepts that they've been putting 4, 5s and 6s past and sevens in some cases at Blackburn, past all sorts of players and teams. So that's the exception to the rule. We didn't let that deter us. Boys, what we'll start with Anthony. What do you think has actually changed? Because I had Kenny today, he couldn't come on tonight. He really wanted to. He's like, no, I'll be back next Monday. And he said, let me tell you, he said, I still want Rowett to go at the end of the season. John Berylson, by the way, was in town for the two of the really good performances, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The West Brom and the QPR. And it does seem like we're playing a different way. Do you think Rowett's finally bowed to, as me and Anthony were saying earlier, no matter who we play, in what terms, and in which conditions, we play the same every time. But for me, in the last 3 games especially, something seems to have changed. Now, do you think that's down to the players, or do you think Rowett is... Because he's doing... Honestly, they're doing things now. I didn't think... We're a different side, and he's motivating them. They're forward thinking. They're getting first and second balls, playing the Millwall way. Yeah. And I couldn't see a way out of that. So, boys, what do you think has changed the dynamic in the last, especially 3 games? But I think one defeat in 8, 7?
Yeah, something like that. Well, apart from bumping into him on the tube.
Oh, yeah, Anthony bumped into him on the tube and told him what he needs to do. Fair play, though. He took it on board, and you're not a Wally, though, are you? You're not some lag.
I did just go,
Well, fucking me a wall, mate. I'll slice you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're a calculated, reasonable man. That's why we love you both on this podcast.
Do you know what I think? Obviously, what I said earlier is, look, when you turn up to games and you expect the same mistake to get you a result, in this case, it being setting up, letting the team come at you for about 70, 80 minutes and not making a change, that's positive. Now, that's just one part of it. Obviously, we've gone into the game and we've started off better. I think that's probably down to the fact, as well as him setting up a bit more attacking, that's probably down to the fact that these players, a lot of them, they were struggling to get into the team, and now this is their chance, and they've rolled their sleeves up, and they're taking their moment. Like Mason Bennett's been in and out due to injury, due to other players getting in ahead of him, and he's really taken it upon himself to lead that front line. Jed's come back in as well, which is obviously, as I said, exciting for every fan, because you want your attacking players to get the ball and take on players. That's what you pay your money to watch. And then, as I said, Billy Mitchell and George Saville have really rolled their sleeves up in the middle of the park. And on one, as I said, I don't think I've been to a game in 10, 12 years where we've not won the second ball for 80% or more of the game. That I don't think I've seen us lose when we're on form and we're in the opposition's faces and win the second, third balls, and that's what we've been doing. Maybe fans will call for playing a bit more stylish, trying to keep the ball a bit more, but we'll just be playing into the other team's hands, because even someone like Derby, probably better at keeping the ball than us. So why would we play into their hands? And that Derby game was a proper away performance, I thought. If it wasn't for that rubbish goal they got at the end, would have been a clean sheet, 2-0 perfect away performance.
Oh yeah, that's 2-2 for Cooper. I didn't think that. Yes. But Anthony, a point you made earlier, we sort of didn't. We made the point without really confirming what went through my mind. Mitchell, Evans, and even Saville. People keep saying, and Keith and Bell, our midfield are a little bit weak. Our midfield aren't forward thinking enough. But like we're saying, Cooper, Hutchinson, Murray Wallace, fantastic defenders. Distribution not so fantastic. And going forward, we had no movement and couldn't create. So what are they supposed to do? I am a little bit more defensive with Billy Mitchell because I do know him personally. So I'm a little bit, don't want people fucking having a pop at him. But
I think I said he's perfect, because not only is he great at breaking the play up and getting really stuck in, which is obviously what we want to see at Millwall, but on top of that, he's not afraid to make a forward pass. Saville's come in. Look, look at it the last 3 years. We've upgraded that position, because that's where we were really losing games in midfield. Our defence has always been good enough to keep a clean sheet on its day. Obviously, our attacks always need improvement, but on our day, we've been able to get a goal and nick the 1-0, nick the 2-0, whatever, 2-1. But our midfield's always been the real problem. Trying to get that right balance of winning the ball, getting second balls and third balls, and actually distributing it. Because if we're not going to have as many attacks as the opposition, that ball needs to be perfect. It needs to be played quick and fast and accurate. And Billy Mitchell's got that in his locker. Could he improve? Obviously he could. And he hopefully will under us. Having George Saville next to him is a bit more experience and got a bit more, sort of skill about him, I think has helped him. I think that duo probably is the one that I would play for the rest of the season. But I do like Kieftenbeld. Yeah, obviously not your most glamorous player. But I don't think I've seen him play a bad game. He always does. When he's there, I trust him. That's a man in midfield that's gonna, I'd want to be on his team because he looks, he's a team player.
Sven Nevin, good evening. Aldona, if you watch People Just Do Nothing, she said McNamara's on Aldona's wish list. So there's a lot of praise from Danny Mack, Billy Mitch, Murray Wallace. H, who stood out for you in this recent run of good form?
I think Mason Bennett is one of them. He started to look like the kind of player I hoped he could be. When we were talking pre-season about someone that could get us those 10 goals, I was like, well, there's an outside chance that if he stays fit. And I was actually surprised he missed the chance at Fulham. Like, that's how, do you know what I mean? He's banged in a few other goals. I'm actually in the background of that picture.
Well, that one.
Yeah.
Breaking any seats, are you?
No, I don't break seats down. But, and I think that it is interesting. There have been some really good comments in here, actually, and some quite funny ones as well. The other one for me is Murray Wallace. I think with the exception of Jed Wallace, he is Harris's best signing. I think if we kind of put Jed to one side, because he came from Wolves a bit higher up. When we signed him from Scunthorpe for what was it, 100 grand, 120 grand or whatever.
Meant to be a squad player, wasn't it?
I saw him get twisted inside out against. Remember the game against Plymouth?
Yeah.
He got twisted inside out. I said he's been turned inside out more times than a baboon's arsehole. Excuse my French. But yeah, he's really come to the fold. Really shown up.
I think he's really improved on the ball. As in at left back, he's had to improve, and he had, his delivery's not bad. I can tell you.
Sorry, thank you so much, mate, for your donation. Really, really appreciate it. Kenny's in hiding. No, he's not. He can't come on tonight, but he'll be back next Monday. We're going to try and set up a WhatsApp group because everyone wants this regular, and we're going to try and keep it as regular as my bowels going forward. I drove today from Kent to Stevenage to drop something off, Stevenage to Warwick to pick someone up at Dan Skelton Racing, and then Dan Skelton Racing to Newcastle. And I just thought, you know what? I really do want to get this going tonight because it warrants it. 7 games and a month and 3 days since our last podcast, boys.
Paul Wise has actually made a couple of really good points. I agree. That point about Jed, he's obviously got to get back up to match fitness. That's what I think was lacking. But now that he is, man, he is just like.
Is it Jed Wallace in a number 10? Oh,
yes.
We don't have a striker. He has to play central. So. He gets so frustrated on that wing that when he gets the ball, probably 50% of the times he would get it, he'd see a lot more in the middle.
Yeah, I think
he feels like the urge to. He knows we rely on him. Like Anthony said earlier in the stream, it's just nice to have him around because he isn't always consistent. But you go, we just got that moment of magic. Let's could just get something out of nothing. And in that 10, boys, he's been frightening. QPR especially.
I was about to say the QPR game for me was the essence of a Millwall performance. I
didn't think it was. I thought it was too good.
We just start. I mean, not being funny as well. QPR were shocking.
Yeah, but I said this to Anthony earlier. QPR, Cardiff, Derby. Who did play the other day? Sheffield United. Are these teams shocking? All of these teams, by the way, with the exception of Preston, have been in and around the Premier League within the last 5 to 10 years. So I think credit to the team and the manager, H. I will say it. That we're just not letting them get started because, as Anthony said, we're playing the Millwall way.
That's our best weapon. If we stop them playing, gives us a chance to win. It's as simple as that. All our most famous results recently, when we've beaten the likes of Leeds, when Charlton come down and they were in form, those big games. I said, but one of the first times I went on the channel, I was like, if we play Leeds and Charlton every week, we'd be top of the league. So if we play that style, like it's a big derby every match, big rivalry every match.
The Sheffield United game, man, right? Look at that. Look at the atmosphere. Look at that, like decent away following. You know,
Brentford, when they were in the league, we beat them 1-0. I think Aidan O'Brien scored.
Yes.
Brentford had all the ball, but what did they really do with it? Because we stopped
Brentford
them.
day, the day against Brentford being 1-0.
Yeah.
We were fucking immense that day. And this is what I said to my mate, and people that don't go, oh, you wanted Rowett out. I don't care. Listen, promotion would be lovely because we've all, you know, with the exception of Anthony, we've got children. We want them to see the retro kits in 20 years. We want to experience what we experience as 9, 8-year-olds. But it's not those performances. For me, it's the Sheffield United performance. It's the Brentford one that you said, Anthony. For me, they excite me more than the flair play. But H. Gore, mate, you were saying about the QPR performance. Fucking goals that night.
Yeah, Tyler Bury that night was, you know, like that finish was just exceptional. That I'd like genuinely looked like a striker who's been banging them in for years, didn't he? Like he took that on and what about the build up to both the goals? Oh my! I mean, you know, I tell you, like
it was one of them.
Tyler, but I didn't even realise it. Do you know, it's funny. I didn't even realise it at the time. I was so wrapped up in the game. Obviously, Jed's back heel, but for the first goal, I didn't realise how well we'd moved the ball in possession and like the ball across them both. But Jed Wallace is instrumental in both those goals, right? Like, absolutely. I mean, his cross-field ball.
Oh yeah, but that's what happens when you move the ball quickly in this league. You get chances.
We have started to do that. Why have we started to? Why have we gained this confidence? Why have we all of a sudden started to do the things? Because people will. Well, now, by the way, H, can we just say that in the last podcast, you got a lot of shit. It's probably 90% heavy with Rowett out, using a very small minority saying keep him in. Why did you say keep him in? But did you think he could get to this level that we are now at?
I felt like we had good players that needed to come back from injury. That was the thrust of all of my arguments was, okay, but he's got a decent injury list. He's starting to blood the youngsters. That's great to see. We're starting to see that. Actually, you know, he brought in Ollie Burt, who looks like he could have been a good player. But yeah, like we're saying, you know, now he's gone out. He's been forced into playing Tyler Bury, and all of a sudden, you know, we're kicking on. We got that youngster coming through. I think the team spirit has really unified. I think both the lone players, even though neither of them are going to play again, have said how good they think the team spirit is. But you saw Jed Wallace talking about Tyler after the game against.
I was actually cooing about him, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was saying, you know, he's a young lad. He's got a lot to learn. He's got all these bits and pieces to learn. But he walks with a bit of swagger. That's a good thing. We've got to understand. He's a young kid, first of all, right? He's also more of a winger. So he's going to be inconsistent. Wingers are inconsistent. You look at any of the great wingers that we've ever had; they've been inconsistent. I feel Jimmy Carter, whoever you want to mention in like, you know, those Lions legends on the wing, they will be inconsistent at times. But you know, he's looking cracking. You know, I still think it's a bit premature, you know, people in the current bun talking about Brentford being interested. Really? I don't know. Sounds like nonsense.
Well, he's still way too early in his career. Even
100%, Ant. I completely agree with you, mate.
Well, Charlie Mummery saying, Bart Balkowski, I'm going to flip it and say, you know, when teams come to the Den or even away games and we go, we ain't fucking tested their keeper. Bart has been very rarely troubled lately. And we did have a little issue with Rowett a while back where I said the one thing we had was clean sheets and strong defensive performances. And then that went out the window. We fucking shipped 6 at Coventry. We let him fucking 3 at Bristol City. We let him 4 fucking somewhere else. But we do really seem to have nailed that down again defensively. And as Anthony and me were saying, before you was on, you get a clean sheet, mate. You're fucking halfway there.
And that's been our strength for the last 3-4 seasons, you know. And the fact he lost that was probably the reason why a lot of fans just thought, well, this is enough's enough. But, you know, realistically, if we'd got rid of him in January, you know, I don't think a lot would have changed. We might have had the, you know, new manager syndrome and maybe got some victories. But I think in the long run, look, some people still want him out at the end of the year, at the end of the season. And do you know what? Like, I'm sorry, I don't really like change. Like, look.
No, you don't, mate. You don't want that. You don't, and I'm the first one to say this. You don't want that at a football club.
No.
However, Kenny is not on tonight. He does have a theory, and I went, okay, I'll take it on board. Kenny seems to be of the opinion of the players are now going, fuck this, we're going to do what we think is right, which I'm maybe not sure. But Kenny also said, is Rowett putting himself in the window, as is Jed. Now, there was a rumour going around, and I don't believe it to be true, that he applied for the Sunderland job, he applied for the Middlesbrough job. Recently, when Peterborough parted company with Darren Ferguson before Grant McCann got the job, Gary Rowett appeared on the betting odds. So it has nothing to do with my opinion. It's nothing to do with Kenny's or any of our fans. Gary Rowett appeared 22-1 to get the Peterborough job. Why was he even in that reckoning? H, you're shaking your head.
Because 22-1.
It's a long shot, but it's still
a
on the
long
ball,
shot.
mate. Why is he on the ball?
It happens once in 22 times. It's like, less than 0 point something, but like it's not even a.
Well, they maybe looked at our form being off. Who might be getting the sack, and then that's why the odds are so bad on that.
I just he's not. All due respect to him, he's not good enough for the West Brom job. Why would he apply to go to a team in a division below us? Doesn't make any sense. Why does he want to go somewhere where the owners are lunatics? He's got a shoe-in with John Berylson. He's talking to him about 3 and 5 year plans. JB just wants stability at the football club.
It was a 3-year plan, but we're going to have to extend that now.
Yeah. But he will be working on the basis of he would have said that to JB, but in his mind he'll be thinking, and in 5 years we could do, and he's probably having those conversations behind the scenes because he's that kind of organised geezer, isn't he? He's the sort of person that will have all of his pencils arranged in colour order on his desk. Yeah. Like, so John Berylson loves that. He loves stability. He's had to plough in £22 million worth of his own money just to keep us afloat, which we're incredibly grateful for. He wants us to stay in the Championship because obviously there's a bigger money market in there for him if indeed we ever were to kick on, and he feels like the redevelopment kicks in at the right time and he thinks, okay, now I'm going to plough a bit of money and see if we can get in the Premiership. And this is pure speculation. I don't want people to start going, oh, this is all ridiculous. Yeah, it probably is. But I'm just saying if you're John Berylson, you might be looking at this, because a geezer from Boston, with all due respect to him and what he's done, he's not cut out of the blue, is he? I mean, it's an odd investment for someone who's got multi investments elsewhere in the world. So I don't know. He will want to keep Gary Rowett for as long as he possibly can.
Yeah,
he also doesn't want to play.
Rowett. Berylson's an astute businessman. He's not going to do anything overnight. Rowett is his man, and like the fact is, look, I don't know. Maybe a lot of fans might disagree, but if you ask me at the beginning of the next 2 seasons with him in charge, the first question is, if we're still in the chat, will we go down? And the answer every time for me would be no. Now then you ask, will there be progression in the next 2 seasons under him?
Next season's massive, man. Next season's massive because we need a lot of players next season, and we ain't got a lot of budget. Let's always remember that. It's going to be a major overhaul, as similar to the Harris buying 10 players and then leaving after the Luton game situation. For me, a lot of people are saying it's not just me saying it. I'm not really saying it. It's getting dressed up now because we're fucking peaking before a big crash for next season. All the loanees will go back. And then the only players we'll be left with is Mason Bennett, Scott Malone, Murray, and the majority other than that,
they're running out of contract.
Or if not, yes, or loans, or not Gary Rowett signings, the Neil Harris signings.
The other thing that I think, and this might sound a bit mad. I haven't done the maths on this, but just thinking in my head, those players that he's let go, is that money being saved for a bigger, not necessarily transfer budget, but wage budget in the summer, so that we can, because it's not, I think it's not so much all of the time, it's not so much about just the one-off signing fees, although for really decent players, obviously that is an issue. It's those weekly wages that we can't break our wage structure, seems to be the kind of thing that's holding us back from offering Jed Wallace probably what he really wants. And obviously we can only speculate as to what that figure is, but a few people have mentioned.
I believe it to be around. I believe it to be around. He wants around the 20K mark.
Yeah,
and
and see,
13, 14K mark.
Exactly, and that's what I've heard from various different people. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Some of these people are reliable resources. Some of them told me that Jack Wilshere was training for us in the summer. So take it with as much.
You texted me and asked me, didn't you? And I was like, no, it's not. I found out.
Take that with as much salt. So I think it will be interesting. I think unless we now go between now and the end of the season without winning another game, I can't see him being asked to leave the football club. Whether he leaves of his own position,
there's more chance him turning around and going, I agree, I've done as much as I can here with the money you've given me, then because I think someone even said in the comments, like, the fact we shouldn't really be talking about this anymore because look, we're not going down, touch wood, and we might be challenging it for a late run into the playoffs. No one else that's available.
We are, yes, but for me, it's fuck. I can't work out what's happened. Can someone please enlighten me? I cannot work out where this has come from.
Sometimes the players, sometimes the buck needs to be passed down to the players. Look,
very true. Very true. Kenny also said, if we're going to blame the players, before when Rowett said, people saying it's not Rowett, it's the players. Now we got to say, well, fucking fair play to the players.
Because at the end of the day, Rowett, any manager, what the most they can do, have a game plan, which was lacking at first, but it seems to be, drilled into them what they need to do now. And on top of that, it's down to whether the players want it enough. And, the players that we're putting out there want it. We've got players out there, Danny Mack, Billy Mitchell, Tyler, Murray Wallace, Hutchinson and Cooper.
You just mentioned 6 players, not Gary Rowett didn't sign one of them.
Yeah, well, it's hard for us to draw in players. We lose out to a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I'm sure Dan, that, we end up losing out to not even bigger teams sometimes, just teams that are going to play a certain way. That's going to, if I'm Arsenal or I'm a Tottenham, or I want my player to go to a team that's going to play the way that we play in our league,
Talking about behind the scenes and things that just aren't, some things just don't sit right. And I'm not sure how much of an influence it's had, but of course today, I've done my research today. Oh, it will come on the screen, trust me. It better do.
He was on the screen.
What, Harvey Bustle?
Yeah.
I can't see it, but there he is.
I can see him.
Oh,
today, Harvey Bustle leaves the club as head of recruitment. He's going to be replaced, of course, by Alex Aldridge, who looks a little bit like a young Gary Monk.
Yeah, he does.
He looks his brother.
Fair play. And you know what, right? People fucking hammer this guy. I've got absolutely no issue with him because the club won't touch me. Yeah, the club won't touch me with a fucking barge pole. He's come in. He started news at Den. He's ended up head of recruitment at the club. On the back of that, moved on. So, you know what? Fucking fair play to Alex Aldridge. But something definitely wasn't right with this guy. Brought in by Gary Rowett in 2000. I looked at 19th of February 2021. He was brought in by Rowett to be a head of recruitment. A horrendous transfer window, which saw Burke come in, who's now injured, and Luke Freeman come in after the deadline the next day. Now, I know, and this has not come from inside the club. It's come from someone I know outside the club who's approached me on a night out in Beckenham and said, this guy and Gary Rowett do not see eye to eye with what type of players Mill need to bring in. And now he's gone off the back of a horrendous transfer window. So does it run that deep? Is Alex Aldridge going to be coming back, going to really affect it? I don't know, just some weird things that go on sometimes. Like us having no strikers. Like Rowett out of contracts in the summer, but no one's ever mentioned it other than me and us on this channel. I don't know, just some weird, strange goings on at times. But yeah, Harvey Bustle leaves the club today. Do you think that's down to the transfer window and the lack of dealings in it?
Well, let's be honest. How many Well, I know there was one transfer. Maybe it was the last summer one where we were kind of excited a bit. But let's be honest. How many transfer windows have we had where we've gone? Yeah, that was satisfying.
But this is weird. This is where Rowett
ever.
Yeah, but this is where Rowett doesn't help himself. Rowett went, we're going to be more active than ever in this transfer. Just don't say that. Just don't say it.
Exactly.
Because now we expect.
Yeah, but I went back through. This shows you how I waste my time. I went back through and looked at all of our transfer windows
Waste
since
it though,
about
not like
1988, and because I was racking my brains. I was like, when have I been really excited at the beginning of a season? I was thinking, we brought in Paul Moody that time, didn't we? Gerard Lavin. I remember after we got relegated, we brought in the Scots, didn't we? Stephen Crawford and all those mushes who were. Was it Sinclair at the back? Jason Dare. Oh, what a player he was!
But funny enough, I was looking
Paul
up the other
Hartley
day.
and
Crawford and Paul Hartley. I tried to find it. I like both of them. Get me.
Yeah.
At least we did something.
We were all meant to get excited when Ryan Woods was signed, and
Honestly.
I think the one thing I was going to mention, Ant, that you were talking about, you mentioned Billy Mitchell. He has started to look more and more like a settled and bedded in championship midfielder with a bit more confidence.
Let's have it right, but Billy Mitchell's not 21 until
and that was going to be my next point, Dan.
Yeah.
Imagine him starting in that position at the beginning of next season with all the confidence in the season that he's had this year. Like, he could be a different player for us next year. He could just take an even bigger step forward, and then people will really be talking about him. I think the future could be quite rosy. Hopefully we get Tom Bradshaw back, and then
that's what I was saying. Now, one good thing he's done is pen him down for a few years now, because he was looking what I was hoping he'd be when he first came in. Movement.
So I'm going to say Bradshaw couldn't get in. Couldn't get a kick, couldn't get in front of Bavardson, sat on the bench for a year, did nothing, and then all of a sudden, I'm not hammering Rowett now because I can't sit here and flip the coin and go, no, yeah, I knew the whole time. I've got to stick to my genuine, honest feelings. He's been also lucky with a couple, with Billy Mitchell, with Danny Mack, two players that come through our academy.
But he's given them his chance. If he didn't give him a chance, they wouldn't be playing, Dan.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair enough.
Seriously,
I guess the point you're making is like, if they didn't come good, then who would we have signed?
One of his former players, mate. Yeah. Look up the reserve team sheet of Stoke, Derby, Birmingham City, and he would have found someone, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think as well. I think part of it, I was talking about Berylson being astute, but now I'm thinking about it. Don't you think there was a opportunity missed, maybe not now, but maybe a season or two ago? I reckon we could have cashed in for Cooper a bit more than what he's worth now. On top of that, obviously the Jed one is big, because I think we could have got decent money for him at one point. Obviously, I love the fact he's still there, but when you look at it in terms of people saying we don't have this money, we don't have that money, but there have been little windows where we could have just gone, right, let's take a risk. All these people complaining about, we're still mid-table playing boring. There was opportunities there where we could have gone, right, let's just do this and let's reinvest. Might not have worked, and then we've gone down. But I think there has been chances where we could have sold a player and tried to, like we've done with George Saville. But I'm trying to rack the brain cells here. Who did we actually bring in with that money?
No, I think we went to what? We have Bradshaw. By the way, what the fuck has happened to Ryan Leonard? We've heard nothing from that. Someone went the other day, Ryan Leonard. I went, fucking hell.
Yeah, because he was doing well.
Leonard Lucan, they called him. He just vanished.
Yeah, he was doing well, and then he got injured. It was the same with Ojo. Ojo actually started playing all right, then he got injured. Bradshaw the same. Afobe the same. Because Afobe, he was actually causing problems towards the back end before he got injured, I thought.
He causes problems, but he don't score goals.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I have.
But we have this is the thing.
After the Fulham game, and he's missed about 10 chances. I've seen him miss about 10 chances without any kind of, and Geezer runs his heart out, does all that stuff. But the performance up at Blackpool where he just forgot how to jump. I don't know how that as a professional footballer. The chart, he's just missed some absolute gilt-edged chances. So
Kenny Draper is in the chat. Ken, the link. I'll send you the link, mate. If you want to jump on, you can. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make this the defamation of Gary Rowett, but I think Kenny's got a point. He didn't rate Danny Mack. He sent him to St Johnstone. I think to a point.
Well, he got rid of Marlon Romeo, didn't he? So he did rate him, because otherwise he wouldn't have just got rid of Marlon. I know there's loads of other grief surrounding him anyway, but
Ken, the link is in the podcast WhatsApp group, because that's what we do now. We got a WhatsApp group. What was I going to say? Jed Wallace. Okay, let's talk about a little bit more in depth about that. Always said he should play on a 10 for 4.5 years, and they kept playing him on the wing. Jed did say, I want to play in the Premier League with Millwall, right? Listen.
Was that at the Christmas party?
Let me tell you this.
Was he drinking wine out of a teacup?
Oh, fuck it, I'll stay.
This is what I think.
Fagging one hand.
What you're about to say is the reason. Like we wouldn't have got into the playoffs once, and there's been chances to sell him. Obviously, as I said, he's probably been my favourite player over the last however many years. But you do have to ask, what would have happened if we have got double figures for him at one point? Well, I'm not saying we could have. I'm just asking, could we have?
Well, listen, notoriously we undersell our talent, don't we? We've always done that. Other than, and like you said, George Saville, we got fucking like 8 mil for Saville.
Yeah,
and apparently Middlesbrough let us off the last $1 million that we owed him to get him back, or so that was the rumour. But Jed, I mean, I love him. As our loyal sponsor, Rigo Elevator, shout out to him if you're watching, Kev. He said in his post-match the other day, Jed will leave for 10 million in the summer. And I messaged him, I said, Jed goes for free, mate. He's out of contract. He went, no, he won't leave. But he's out of contract, and he is leaving in the summer for free. I can tell you that for a fact. But Jed has said, if we get promoted, is Jed like that now? Fucking hell. Could do about this late surge. Otherwise, I'm going to have to stay. But would the fans appreciate it like a new signing if we went, we're going to show a bit of intent, we're going to sign Jed, was he 27, 28?
Yeah, I think so.
We're going to sign him, and that, like people say, that's going to be like a new signing. Ken, join the group if you want to join it. You're welcome.
It's a tricky one, because I think fans scared of just not knowing what happens next. We don't know what the answer after that is. There could be someone right around the corner for us and could be even better than Jed. Let's be honest. If Jed was more consistent, he would have been long gone.
Yeah.
He would have been gone about 2 seasons ago. He got good numbers that one where he got double figures goals and assists. But, with the talent he has, I think he could have done maybe a bit more. But having said that, I'm sure a lot of fans will be like, well, we didn't create a lot. And that is true. And I think with any striker we have, the problem comes to how many chances can we create for him. When you've got someone like a Phobe who isn't the most clinical, how many goals is he realistically going to get? Bradshaw is actually quite clinical, and he went on a run under Harris as well, don't forget, where he went on a run of 6-7 games scoring goals. Rowett came in and then he was dropped. So we've had decent strikers over the years. Zohore was someone that I thought was had good attributes and could maybe finish, but he got injured. And I just think the fact is we haven't created enough chances over the seasons, and maybe it's changing now because we look a bit more. We look like we know what we're doing a little bit more in February in the final third.
We do, but how and why? Has something changed?
The how is because we're moving the ball quicker, we're creating more chances, and teams aren't expecting us to do it like that. They expect us to play nice and slow. We're doing everything
I've wanted us to do.
We've got pace now. Think about it. Tyler, Bennett, Jed is pacey. When have we had all the attackers pacey? Maybe their finishing needs to improve a bit, but pace in the Championship will get you a long way. And if you can match that with 1 or 2 bits of end product, we're going to win or draw most games.
Interesting.
But the why, I don't know. I don't know if Rowett's just put a rocket up him. He doesn't seem like the sort of guy that would do, because he talks a good every post-match conference.
I'd be a fantastic prime minister.
I listen to him. I'm like, Jesus, why doesn't he manage for Barcelona? And then
he makes the right noises. That's why.
Yeah, he does. He talks well. So I'm not sure whether it's a case of the players, as I said, when they lose, they should take responsibility, and when they win, I think maybe they've just stumbled across the right formula. Maybe we shouldn't ponder on it too much, why we've started coming good. We've got to focus now on having a steady March, because March is a very difficult month with difficult fixtures in there. and they're fixtures that can really take it into our own hands what happens for the rest of the season. Look at that. Huddersfield, Borough, Blackburn.
Someone said that to me the other day. Do you know we've got to play everyone above us out of shot as well, by the way, is Luton away, which is always a difficult fixture.
Yeah.
Boys, people were asking in the comments.
We always turn up in that.
People were asking in the comments, is it now possible?
Look, anything's possible in a championship. Forest were in the playoffs all season last season, and then they dropped out last day.
That was mad. They nearly to lose by 3 goals.
Barnsley were in the relegation zone. Oh, it was 2 seasons. Barnsley were in the relegation zone up until the last day, and then Charlton got that point deduction. Anything's possible in the championship. It's you put a run together towards the back end of the season, you give yourself more than half a chance.
Look at us, honestly. Look at us post. Do you know what as well? We never used to score more than 1 in a game. West Brom 2 goals.
So, yeah.
Right. This is the next one. Look. Cardiff 2 goals, QPR 2 goals, Derby 2 goals.
We've tightened up at the back. That Fulham 3-0 is like a 1-0. I'm telling you, we've tightened up at the back massively. Like we're organised again.
Yes.
12. We've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 out of a possible 21 there.
You take that every day of the week.
100%, but I can't honestly. Mate, listen, I forced this channel, by the way, and I just looked a minute ago. We're 22 subscribers away from 17,000. We've been going 6 years next month. We've won back-to-back content awards. I know it's not all about me, but I like to think I've got that fucking following through 1, having a little bit of lightheartedness, but 2, knowing what I'm talking about. At this point, I said Tyler Bury was shit and Gary Rowett wasn't the man for the job. What the fuck? I'm here. I can't hide. Oh, Kenny's in. Here he is. Right, now it's going to go off. I'll leave you all 2 by the week.
He's even later than me.
Hey, you was very late.
Yeah, what can I say? I don't know. So, Kenny, serious question for you, Geezer, because I have been thinking this. In terms of your stance on Mr. Rowett, is it just because you don't like his brand of football? And I'm not trying to dig you out, mate. That's a genuine question.
Yeah. It's 100% his way of playing. I don't think that the last 4 games we've played anything like that. I think he's kept to his formation, hasn't he? But other than that, I've always said this. He's always forced our players back. So we're almost anchored in our own half most of the time.
Yeah.
And that's how we concede goals. Even though we play quite defensive, we seem to concede a lot more goals playing anchored at the back because we invite the pressure. I'll go on the record right now saying I have absolutely no problem with Rowett if we play the way that we've played the last 4 games.
Sorry, Ken. Can I just say for the audio listeners, this will go out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Acast. Kenny is now in a chat with Henry and Anthony. There's 4 of us. Go on, mate. Crack on.
Yeah, if we'd lost the last 4 games, I still wouldn't be that annoyed. And I think I've said it before loads of times. For me, watching Millwall Football Club is about showing passion, aggression, and enjoying what I spend my money on. And I think I've got that in the last 4 games. And the plus side is that we got 4 results out of it. So my stance on Gary Rowett is still exactly the same. I don't think he's the manager for us. I don't think that even though he's the manager, he's allowed our players to play like that. I think certain people like Jed Wallace coming back into the side, being able to have a free role, you then can't not give a free role to Mason Bennett. You can't then not give a free role to Tyler Berry. No, essentially, if Jed's allowed to express himself, then so are all the other players allowed to express themselves. And I think that's exactly what is happening. I think every single player on that pitch is expressing themselves, and that's what we knew that they could do 6 months ago. So I'm happy, but
so my question on top of that is, do you think that Gary Rowett has let go of the reins a bit more and said, actually, I trust these players a bit more now. Let's go and see what you can do. And if so, that could that be a good thing going forward?
Yeah, potentially. But I think the main person that, say, holds the reins other than Gary Rowett would be Jed Wallace. He has a big influence.
With you, mate.
Yeah, time. So if he's back in the dressing room, I think he's probably got a bit of power at the moment as well. Currently, is he now? Apparently, a lot of people. I didn't watch the game last week, but a lot of people were saying that he was on Tyler Berry's case a lot, motivating him. Telling him to play his game, etc. All of that sort of stuff. So I think that is a big part of it.
For me, I agree with Kenny. I think for the Sheffield United game was actually, in a way, although I didn't think the standard was great of passing from either side, and it was a very scrappy, physical affair. For me, I enjoyed that more than the other wins we've had recently, where we've actually played better football and actually scored better goals and won by bigger margins, like Cole Bologna is saying there. Quick, aggressive football is what we want, and has always been the Millwall way.
And that's exactly what gets us as I said, every time we play like that, I don't think I've seen us lose.
But I think, and me and Kenny boys did the same thing. Rowett, I think our players are better than Rowett gives them credit for. I've always said it.
Well, it's one of the first times that Rowett's actually came out and started praising the players as well. A lot of his post-match content is, usually slagging them off, to be honest. But maybe that takes or puts a lot into the team. Their manager finally turning around and telling them that they're proud. He's proud, or they've done the right things, etc. I don't know what to think at the moment. I'll be honest.
I thought there was a massive disconnect, but that couldn't be sort of saved. But the minute for me, we're fucking as Chitty said, we're absolutely rolling at the right time, aren't we?
Do you know what I said? I said to you, Dan, because without being rude, I put it in, and then I thought, no, best not being rude. But what I said to you earlier was, we're playing exactly the same way that we played when Gary Rowett first turned up, and he didn't necessarily have a clue, and he couldn't put his foothold on the team straight away. That's how I feel we're playing at the moment. We're playing how we played before, just as Gary Rowett turned up. I just find it ironic that we're now playing that sort of way again when it comes to a point when he doesn't have a clue again.
You said as well, like, you think he's putting himself in the shop window. And people moan in the comments, but listen, we're trying to show all sides of the coin here. We've got, me and Kenny are pretty much of the same opinion. Anthony always brings a little bit of calm to the storm, a little bit. Anthony says things sometimes and I go, yeah, I didn't think of it in that way. And H has rocks in here with a shades on tonight, like, who the fuck is this guy? Because he was taking some shit last time. Mate, you've been very what's the word? Noble. Like, you've not gone, hang on.
Gracious.
I fucking told you all, you've not gone down that route tonight, have you?
Well, no, because like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion about what they think, and like I said, I was just looking at it from the perspective of, do I want stability at the football club? Yes. Does Gary Rowett bring that? Yes. People always going on about the football not being very good. Yeah, but I compare that to when we had Bobby Bowery running around in midfield, not really doing anything for years. When we had Ricky Newman, like Gerard Lavin, I just remember, getting slated at school because I was a Millwall fan and we got relegated into League One and Charlton were in the Premier League and getting all that grief. And I just, for years, watching us roll around in that division with Scottish people. And I'm just like, it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad. Going back to seasons when we got relegated, when Neil Harris just became our manager, that, some of the football back then was shocking. So I look at those teams. I look at what we've achieved over the last few years. I look at the Wembley appearances. I look at how he's built on what Neil Harris gave us. And I just think things are moving in the right direction generally. Has the football been that great this season? At times it's been pretty shocking, but I've usually had so much, to drink before the game that it doesn't always affect me that much. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm pissed at every match and I don't think it's that bad. I don't know. I just think that we had a lot of injuries And since those injuries have come back, we started winning games. And that's kind of what I said. And if that hadn't have happened, which I didn't think it was going to, I thought that we might get the odd player coming back in here and there, and maybe it wouldn't quite work. Because after that Blackpool game, quite frankly, I was like, well, that was poor. Where do we go from here? Because that was like literally, I remember going to Blackpool years and years and years ago. We lost 3-0, I think, when Peter Mead was the chairman. One of the worst games of football I've ever seen. It was freezing cold, dark by half time. Shocking football, and I think that's under Jimmy Nicholl, and it felt as bad as that, walking back to the station that evening. But yeah, we've I don't know, we've turned that corner, but we could just as easily be sitting here in 4 games time and have lost all 4 of them, right? Because we got difficult games coming up.
Do you know
Reading
what?
This weekend's tough place.
You said I expect Rowett to be gone after this window. This window isn't so much the problem; it's the teams that we shouldn't beat that we do beat. The teams we should beat, we don't beat. And Anthony pointed perfectly towards Barnsley.
Yeah.
But look, this is where people get me wrong as well. And they go, well, you'll be saying Rowett out if we lose this weekend at Reading. I won't. I'll be saying, do you know what? They've given it fucking everything they got for the last 4 games. You can't ask any more than that. And you can't turn up every week, right? You will have off days. I've always backed what I've said with reason and theories. Do you know what I mean? If we do lose at Reading this weekend, which is 2,000 Millwall fans going, everyone on a high, we should be beating them. They lost 4-1 to Blackpool last time out. Paul Ince is their manager, so he's going to get some shit. Tom Ince is obviously the first name on the team sheet because his dad's the manager. Daddy, his dad's the manager, so he's going to get some shit. It's exactly the type of game we'll go and lose. But I won't have a problem with it because I'll say, do you know what? They fucking give it everything. You're going to have off days. And it is what it is at Millwall Football Club. I'm not expecting world beaters. I'm not expecting us to get promoted. And it's, as I said, it's that sort of game that we could lose. But I won't have an issue with it because of how well they have done. They give me more joy in the last 3 weeks than they have pretty much, like Kenny said to me the other day. We're playing now like we did when Rowett first took over. And it's funny how that's at the beginning of his contract and as it's rolling towards an end. Maybe.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I don't know. Part of me. I mean, look, we're not going to go up. We're not going to go down. I'm not looking at the playoffs. I don't know whether anybody else is. But again, it's not about if you go and lose at Reading on Saturday. That's not the big deal. It's how you lose. That's the big problem for me. It's how you lose. They come off the pitch and, we've tried everything. We've given it our all and, we've lost 1-0. It is what it is. But it's when look, the Peterborough game is a good example. The Blackpool game is a good example.
Peterborough is a good example.
Yeah. We was at Huddersfield as well, Ken.
And the Huddersfield game.
We gone 8-hour round trip to see us not even have a fucking shot.
No.
To set ourselves in the game.
But that's what I mean. That's manner. The manner of the defeat is what matters, really. In my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong. If they're putting blood, sweat, and tears, and leaving everything on the pitch, and we're losing every week, then there's a problem. but that's not us as a club, is it?
No, I think you said that earlier, Andy. You said, Kenny don't know this. Kenny's like, if I ever see that cunt, not you, Anthony, he's talking about Gary Rowett. Sorry, by the way, for C-bombing in the live stream. Anthony bumps into him, Ken, on the tube, and he gave him his opinions, and Rowett had a chat with him, and Anthony said,
our form's picked up.
Yeah, now he's taking the credit for it. But fair play to Rowett for having a chat. You know what I mean?
I think it. When you look at it, if the biggest criticism I ever had of him when we were doing badly, and then obviously as the January was very poor, is why when we play away from home, obviously we're going to set up a bit more defensively, but why would you play, no matter who we're up against, but why would you invite a team on for 70 odd minutes and not expect them to score 1 goal? Because all it takes is 1 lapse in concentration and 1-0 up, and guess what, it takes about 5-10 minutes to get going down the other end and the game's almost up. I think that's just the reason a lot of fans are frustrated, because it's a pretty logical move. Like, all right, maybe first half be a bit conservative, but, right, we ain't got the best attacking players of all time, but we've got players there that can cause problems, get balls in the right areas with pace. pace, as I said earlier, we lacked pace over the years, and we finally got that up top with that at the final third. And I just think if he's honest with himself, he didn't really think about what tools he had at his disposal. Right? Yeah, he probably looked at the fact we keep a lot of clean sheets. Let's play defensive. But if it's not working after a couple of games, you really got that's where he's got to take some responsibility. And he's done it before when we were pushing for that playoff spot, as I said earlier about that QPR game. Silly tactical moves cost us a final day push for that sixth spot. He's over the course of his career, he's had highlights, of course he has, but there has been too many times where there's been decisions that could have been avoided. And I know there's a lot of people in the chat saying, "Oh, but like, are you really seriously saying Rowett out after the run or whatever?" Look, he's got 2-3 months now to show us what he's got. Big March now. If we can negotiate that with decent points tally, look, I'm not saying we're going to get playoffs, but I'm saying we carry on being competitive in the league. The longer you're competitive in the league for, the more you improve. Put us in good stead for next season.
Just a couple of it, and I agree with some of what you say, but to be honest, do we not our possession statistics since Neil Harris left have gone up under Gary Rowett?
Yeah, for sure.
I felt like we played that let's get a goal and invite teams to come onto us under Neil Harris. I felt like we did that when we got into the Championship. We do a smash and grab. I don't know how many games that season when we went up in that first season, we won 1-0 or 2-1, or we just snatched a game. And so I don't really see how what Rowett's doing is that much different, other than he's upgraded some of the players and some of those pegs out there. Maybe I know we all watch a different game and we have our own opinions on it, but I completely hear what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think at times we do invite too much pressure on, and it is frustrating. But I felt that under Neil Harris as well. Was I the only one that felt that under Neil Harris? I guess is my question.
Harris, I think with the frustration with a lot of fans is that, so if we're still doing something similar, then where's the sort of progression in our game? The thing Harris had that was able to make, well, obviously in the end he had to leave, so it wasn't that successul. But the fact he relied so much on long ball, he relied so much on long ball over
the Cooper diagonal.
You know what though? Harris didn't have to leave. I feel that he felt he walks at the
of course. But if we're all being honest with ourselves, he took us as far as he could with the style of play in that division.
Felt like it, didn't it?
But Harris had the thing where we had players that could get you possession from a long ball and get us up the pitch nice and quick. Look, we still didn't score goals because we didn't have the players that were putting in the back of the net. But with Rowett, there is a sort of tendency to, okay, we've gone 1-0 down now. We're still on the back foot, but we're going to try and get the ball into midfield, play through the phases. And unfortunately, when it wasn't going well for us, we couldn't get the ball. We couldn't move the ball quick enough. Look, now we've gone on this run of games. We've pushed up a bit higher. The line's gone up a little bit higher, a bit more of a low block, and the ball's moving a bit quicker. And guess what? We're shooting more. We're getting more chances. It's not.
And you know what? A massive thing is what we said to you earlier, Ant, as well. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, that's right.
The defenders are not. They're great defenders, but they're not fantastic distribution wise.
Oh,
but Jeb Wallace playing in that false nine has give that link that we never fucking had.
I think we really need to continue with. So rather than having 5 at the back, look, we've got 2 wing backs that are going to do that wing play now. So there's no need for the attackers to be going so far wide. Get Jed in that hole and get the 2, whoever it may be, in front, and let's get Danny Mack and Murray or Scott down the flanks, putting high press on them, and then you've got Bennett and Berry or Bradshaw if he comes in or whoever in them little pockets with their good movement. And and so far it's caused problems. We're not going to win every game from now to the end of the season, but as long as we're creating chances and our defense is good enough to keep more clean sheets for the rest of the season, I think we can be proud when we go to most games, which is all I want. I don't care if we lose. Well, I do care, but I don't care if we're losing and it looks like we're actually playing for the shirt. That's why I love Billy Mitchell and Danny Mack so much, because at least even when we were playing poor and they probably weren't having the best game, it looked like they gave a shit, which is is all I really want.
I'll be honest with you. I take a win at all costs. I hate losing. I hate it with a passion that burns brighter than the fires of hell. I don't care if it goes in off Benica Phobie's arse cheek for a 1-0 victory and we've had 1% possession and no shots in the entire game, but we managed to beat someone. I'll take that every single day. I'll watch the worst football ever if it means that we win, especially if it means we can beat some poncy team like Fulham who go around thinking they can celebrate in front of our fans with a player that's on £40 million a year.
We played at a World Cup, scored at a World Cup.
Yeah. Oh, he scored on a Tuesday night against Millwall. Well done, mate. Why don't you go and get your Superman outfit out and run around the pitch with your pants over your shorts?
This is the thing.
Hate him.
I have got a £50 bet on him at 8-1 to be the Championship top striker. So
start spending that, mate. Start spending that.
They won't even pay me out yet.
But isn't it funny, like, you know, with everything that's going on, as well as we've been doing, there's still that niggle, not just from me, not just from Kenny, but Trevor Romagoff sitting there enjoying a nice glass of Malbec, possibly. COVID and no crowd saved him, I agree, the last 2 years. Injuries have now forced his hand.
Yeah, did it also cost him?
No, I don't think it did.
Yeah, I think
Trevor on the look, Tyler Bury was a risk, we know that. But Tyler Bury's come in now due to the fact that Freeman, he did well at Hartlepool. Freeman's injured. Burke was understandably brought in with the experience he's got. Maybe a sort of wasted talent, but as we said, me and Anthony earlier on, that's the sort of players we get in.
Yes.
We have to take a punt on those.
Yes.
But I do strongly believe, like, you know, Bury in the first team now, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for COVID.
Definitely not.
I do believe that.
I 100% believe that. And I'll tell you now as well, he didn't fancy Danny Mack. Didn't he keep James Brown? He kept James Brown over Danny Mack.
Oh, yeah.
He gave James Brown the new contract as soon as he turned up.
Yeah.
Look, and you won't always get it right. Harris got some remarkably right, as we discussed. Balkowski, Cooper, Sean Hutchinson. He got some fucking wrong. Yuri Skalak, John Danny Bavardson. So it is, you know, you won't get every single one right, but I do believe, and I don't want to like hate on him for no reason because he's doing the business and I can't argue with it. But go on, Ken. I agree with what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I think that, you know, a lot of these players that have come in, you know, like the Danny Mack, he didn't fancy Danny Mack. Didn't he drop him for like 6 games or something stupid like that?
And Bradshaw as well. Didn't play Bradshaw for a year and a half.
Yeah, had Billy Mitchell playing right back at one point as well as Leonard before he finally gave in to letting Danny Mack go there. Billy Mitchell wasn't even in the starting lineup, was he? I don't think, because you had Leonard and Saville and Keith above him. Definitely at the beginning of the season. I know. I think
it's no secret that Rowett likes, you know, prefers experience, prefers numbers on the board from professionals in competitive football. You know. Yeah,
and again though, I can't even look at that photo. But yeah, I think he has been lucky in certain circumstances in ways of bringing players in. We said right at the beginning, Kieftenbeld, the first 5-6 games that he played this season, you know, we thought we was onto a worldie with Kieftenbeld. He had a great first 5-6 games, and then he got dropped completely.
Yeah.
And he's only just coming back in. He got a couple of games in, didn't he? 2-3 games, and he was playing brilliant again. And I think that's what it is. I think his judgment is wrong. Something else I want to bring up though, because I don't know whether someone said it in the comments or something. They were talking about Gary Rowett and the way his brain works. He's a particular kind of person. So I don't know whether like he uses his left-hand side of his brain more than his right or whatever it is.
Yeah, mate, all that stuff's a myth.
Bit of praise coming in from Rowett, kind of comment.
But the reason why I'm saying that is it could be a case that you get to a particular amount of points and then he lets the shackles off and just goes, do what you want now. Do what you want. We're safe. It don't matter. The problem is you give him a 3-year contract, he's going to do the same every season.
Where are we now with this, boys? We've had the discussion of players running out of contract. They never mentioned Rowett's contract. I believe it to be up. in the summer. Do we go again with him? Hate your fucking. You're like Churchill in the fucking back windscreen.
But I mean, yes. I don't. I just, if we get rid of him, who do we bring in? We've then got another year of substantial changes. I mean, I guess the question isn't that, Dan. The question is, if we are going to get a bigger budget in the summer, do we want Gary looking after that budget?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we've got the new recruitment geezer in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He fouled at Stoke with a budget. And you see this a lot in football, like Harry Redknapp's and the Dave Bassett's of this world for the older viewers, was always good at digging teams out. But if you ever give them a budget, I mean, look, a lot of people saying, Stoke was a poison chalice. If we get some sort of budget under that, what sort of players does he go for? Because I think we've got youngsters there that have proved now that could be the way to go.
We need, like we say, a striker.
It's tough. I think for any manager in the league, it's getting the transfers right. Even the top managers like Ferguson, you could really write a list of players he got wrong. And at the level when you've not got a lot of budget, you've got to make the right call. And how many managers out there would make the right call? We can sit here and go on FIFA and go on Football Manager, see how many players you could sign. But the reality of it is signing a player is very tough because they want to have to come firstly. Secondly, they got to fit the mold in the style that you want to play. And it's thirdly, it's just luck as well. Sometimes it's just luck. Get on the pitch and they score a goal early and then they have a good career with them. It's a tough one because like who do you bring in and be like, all right, I trust you with this war chest. Go out and sign, your players. Because if a new manager comes in, it's going to be a case of, right, do I even like the players I've got now?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah,
I know. I understand the whole look. Kenny's hit the nail on the head. Rowett's made a notable amount of decisions that just, which just all it takes is a bit of logic, and he's got it wrong.
He's got to have that logic, though, right?
Yeah,
He can't just be sitting there without that logic. He's obviously got a plan. He's got his 3-year plan. He's the kind of manager that will have that plan.
How long's he got left on that 3-year plan?
Just stubbornly stick to it.
Season, isn't it?
Right? Yeah, it's the end of the season.
Yeah.
The end of this season. See, this is the other question that I ask. Not do we want Rowett, right? Does Rowett want us? Was he sold false promises? Because I don't think
he's bothered.
Do you not think? I think he's coming.
I think like McGee. He's not bothered. I think like Jacket, he's not really bothered.
If he watches people like us, I think he thinks you absolute bunch. Not so much you two.
Well, I'm his love child. Someone last time commented on his love child. So
I think Rowett thinks if I walk into here, I'm doing the best I can, and some of them just ain't registering.
He finishes the season strong this season, and at least gets the club mentioned in the playoff push towards the end. His CV looks good for us. 3 seasons, 3 top half finishes for a budget of what God knows what. Now he could go on to another team and get that bigger paycheck. Why would he not? The managers, the clubs that have got a bit more money than us in this league aren't necessarily going to go, oh yeah, but look at the football you played, it was shit. They'll just be like, look, 3 top half finishes, he gets results. Yeah. For a club that's got one of the lowest budgets.
I've always said he's a stabiliser. He's not. He's a stopgap.
Well, yeah, because arguably he should have got Derby promoted that season, and he fell short. And then Burton he done well, but that was a lower level. And Stoke was, average.
He got Birmingham City into the playoffs, didn't he?
He did.
And then got turfed out the next year because they lost 3 games in a row. They wanted Zola.
I think realistically, if he wants to stay, he'll probably. John Berylson will probably offer him a new contract. I think 100%. That's probably what will happen if he wants to stay.
Well, John Berylson has been a fantastic chairman for us, and he's not dipped in. And this is where you need someone like Benjamin Bloom, because Benjamin Bloom always refers to parachute payments, teams like Hull, like Derby, like Middlesbrough, like Sunderland even. They'll go in and go, fucking boom, boom, boom. And Berylson does it slowly and softly. So I think Rowett is a manager that fits that mould for Berylson.
It's safe. Everything feels safe. And you know what? Maybe one day we'll be like, oh, I wish I felt like that again. Because look at some of the teams look at the State Derby, are in, for God's sake. Like,
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So obviously there's probably someone better out there. Probably is, but there's probably a lot of people worse out there. So I think we probably have to have this conversation at the back end of the season because. Rowett now, he's got to just concentrate on March. I keep saying this, but that's what he's got to do. Negotiate March with good performances, and points on the board will come. And then he gives the fans something to look forward to April, May. And if he does that, then I don't think he could do a lot more. Obviously, over the course of the season, there's a lot he could have done differently. January, bit before Christmas, was a bit shaky. But you can't ponder on that anymore. He's got to look at the last couple months now because
the stats don't lie, and the season's a fucking long old season, and we are where we are. And someone in the comments is pointing towards West Brom, who are got a new manager in, but still currently 1-0 down.
Steve Bruce hasn't got 3 points all season in both the clubs.
I don't know how he keeps getting jobs. Honestly, he's had more jobs than he's had fucking nose transplants, but he's got to sort it out. But okay, let's look at this situation. Could see him go to Cardiff. I think they're talking about Rowett. If you could handpick someone, for example, I'm a strong believer that if you're going to be an England manager, you've got to be English. And if you're going to be a Millwall manager, you've got to have that Millwall mould cut into you. Would any of you swap Morrison?
No. But you say that like Mark McGee. Would you say Mark McGee was a Millwall type manager? I'm not sure that I would. Would you see Kenny Jackett was a Millwall type manager? No.
Well, Kenny Jackett's just lost his job at Leyton Orient, hasn't he?
Oh, bless him. And I love both those two Millwall managers. I was going to mention Mick McCarthy, but I don't think that really. I don't know.
It's so hard nowadays because anyone just gets a job now. It's like no one. You might not even have a CV, and you just end up getting the job for 5 games, and then you're the manager all of a sudden. Well, what was Steve Morrison's CV under 23s, and then he got some Cardiff to a punt on him. It's like look how many managers in. Remember Darren Moore for West Brom. They were going down. They gave him the job at West Brom. He done all right at the end, even though they're already relegated. And now he's got a few jobs since. It's like anyone can be a manager given 3 or 4 games. I don't see us getting a big name in from the Championship. I remember when Ian Holloway was a big name, but look what happened there.
It pops up the other week on my Facebook, and I'm like, I was buzzing for it. Honestly, my Facebook status. If I could find it, I'll put it up. I was buzzing. Like he'll get us this, that, and the other, mate.
And he started well as well.
At the end, didn't he?
Yeah, and he started well. This is what I'm saying. Neil Harris was he'd managed. He'd had a gig at the under 23s, and then we gave him the job. Because who are we actually going to pull from a team that's actually got a bigger budget than us? The
budget thing's a myth. Where's Luton right now?
Yeah, exactly. Who's their manager? What's his name again?
He went to Stoke, didn't he? Came back.
Yeah. I forgot his name, but like he was someone that I think his first gig was Luton, and then all of a sudden, they're doing all right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like to use the budget as an excuse. Like, it boils down to recruitment, doesn't it? And we're obviously making changes in that sense. But Anthony, back to what you were saying though, when you go to recruit a player, it's about whether they want to come to you, whether they fit to your mould, etc., etc. That's all we have to do with a manager. It's the same as buying a player. Steve Morrison. No, I wouldn't have minded Steve Morrison if we'd got rid of Rowett in January. I wouldn't have minded having someone like Morrison in for the rest of the season.
Right, an ex-player that knows the club.
Yeah, knows staff, knows probably, I don't know, let's say 30, 40% of the players.
To look after it for 4 or 5 months.
That's right, yeah. And also, none of us would have a problem. If we were 15th, 16th, we probably still wouldn't have had a problem just because we know he's there for a short term while we're trying to, get a better fix come the new season. But
I'll be honest, I don't. Do you know what it is in all this as well, which we overlook? Do we want Rowett? I mentioned this earlier. I don't think Rowett. I think if he could get out, I think he would. to somewhere else. And you look at Anthony said he saw him on a Jubilee line. Well, I can tell you why you saw him on a Jubilee line, because they rent him an apartment over by Canary Wharf. He's in there with the iPad guy and originally Callum Davison. It's not, for me, or any manager's long-term in this day and age, but I don't think it's a long-term thing with Rowett. I don't think he really wants it. I think he's walked into something and thought, this lot ain't for me.
But that's the football club, right? I'm not being funny. Really, to be successful at Millwall, you either have to be a certain type of player who has a bit of a thicker skin and doesn't get agitated by a lot of the stuff that goes on around the football club constantly, whether in the media or whatever else.
It's not an easy club to play for or manage.
I don't think so. You've got as many fans that love the football club that hate us, that support us, if that makes sense. Like, you amount of grief that you get just for like giving an opinion on one single thing, even if you think that that's your opinion and you know certain things to be correct. I think our biggest problem with recruitment is going to come because of a lot of the negative publicity that we constantly generate. Some of which is self-perpetuating through some of our actions, and some of which we know is just prejudice, pure prejudice of people that don't ever come down, don't understand the roots of this football club or the people that go and watch the football down there. And it's really difficult to try and get rid of that mould, because when you do, people say, well, you're not real Wall because you've said this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, we're trying to find a middle path here, right? And I think that it's really important that we continue to have these conversations, that we continue to sort of say to people, actually, this is a football club that you can come and play at. And it is, open to you. And I think that having someone like Gary Rowett, who's a bit dull, in charge of it, just gives you that little, you're a bit like, well, things can get a bit feisty down at the den. But we've got this player you've got this guy who's quite bland, just, Mr. Beige. His entire rooms are all painted beige. Everything's in nice, neat rows. And some footballers are going to really like that order in an area where there's a lot of disorder going on around the outside, which we all love. And that's why we support the football club.
I agree. There's another name thrown into the mix, ex-Millwall. Great coach, doing bits, Scotland, Nottingham Forest. Where is he now, Stephen Reid? Is he still at Forest?
Oh, is he not a Blackburn? Was he the old Forest?
I think he's a Forest, yeah.
Forest, yeah.
I agree with H. Like, maybe the Rowett factor does balance out the chemical, all right. But we've got this guy now and we're trying to get down a different path.
Maybe, I don't know.
Those are our opinions, boys, and we ain't afraid to fucking express them. So that's the main thing. Yeah, he is a Forest.
I think that if Gary Rowett stays and, for instance, they turn around and go, look, here's another 3-year contract to stay at Millwall, I think we will see exactly the same as what we've seen in the last 3 years. Now, and we have to work out whether we're going to be happy with that.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, Kenny, do you know what, mate? I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, and I guess when I revert back, I'm just like, I remember us going into administration. I remember that Bristol City game where everyone was on the pitch and throwing bins around in the car park outside, and the fact, the Lion Roars come out with that black, front cover, the darkest day in the history of the football club. And I then sometimes look at this and look at the last few seasons and go, yeah, football hasn't been great at times, but we're stable. You look at Derby, and you've said all this already, mate, so I'm not going to go on. But yeah, I totally hear you, mate. What I'd love is just a few decent away wins.
Do you think, right? So having to, if say for argument's sake, we're being told we're getting a new manager next season. I'm not good with names or anything, but in terms of a style and type of manager, do you think we would go to the next level if we got a proper man manager in that puts his arm around the players, that riles them up in the dressing room, that gets them going every game, make every game feel like we're playing Leeds United or Charlton Athletic or whoever else? And it might not be the most tactical thing you've seen, because I think Rowett tries to go too tactical and overcomplicates it in the end. And we're not doing anything, and it's not, the message isn't getting into the players' heads, hence why we're looking confused on the pitch. Do you think we'd benefit for, I'm just going to, not that we're linked to, I'll just say a Neil Warnock type manager, a Harry Redknapp type manager, Tim Sherwood, who's very vocal on the pitch, on the sideline, in the dressing room, makes the fans feel like we're even tighter with the club, get that feel. Remember when that pit, I know we were in League One, but Neil Harris had created that little bit of aura when we went on that run.
100%.
Is it fair to say what you're saying?
Saved the football
And I
club.
agree
I
with
think
this.
he saved the
But
football
we
club.
quite caveman in our approach as fans.
Yeah, remember pre-Neil Harris, we had all these managers trying different things.
Yes.
And a very and then all Harris done, back to basics, simple tactics. And I'm going to make sure that these players know they're the best at winning the ball back. They're the best at getting the second ball, and they're more hungry than the players. If we had a player like that, if we had a manager like that, maybe we'd go to the next level in the championship, because I think we've got better players now.
100%. Look, I can give you a perfect example, and I know it's going to be a ridiculous one. I coach an under-12s team, and yesterday we were 3-0 down at half time, and I was on the sideline because they bullied us. They bullied us for a whole half, right, kicking lumps out of us. And I got so animated on the sideline, and I'm shouting to the boys, "We're going to war, we're going to battle, come on!" And all of a sudden, that animation, that energy, fed into these kids, and
yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden, we're cracking into these players. We're being stronger. Everything was better, and we ended up getting a result out of it. And
our players tick off that. Our players definitely tick off that.
The energy that you're providing to these players, and it is sometimes, it's like a father figure thing sometimes, isn't it? And also for grown men, because if you're telling them they're doing a good job, that's all they want to hear. And if you tell them they're doing a good job, they're going to want to do it more.
Exactly, and that's why I think we benefit from it. Why do you think we play well when the fans, it's a packed stadium and all that? Because the players thrive off it. And for people that are saying Warnock, no, I'm not saying Warnock. I'm just saying a manager of his mould. Obviously, I'll take Warnock at the club. Just a manager of his mould, someone who puts his arm around him. A South London version of Warnock.
Warnock's love child.
Yeah.
So just someone like that. Be a fucking hero, Millwall. Don't worry about that. You deserve that.
He hates
someone that's going to get the players. Someone that's going to get the players rolling their sleeves up and playing for the manager, which is what we felt in February. Now we felt like they're playing for him a bit more. But what are the agendas here? Who's playing for a contract? What man is Rowett trying to, leave with a bang? There's all these questions here. But maybe we want a manager that's like, right, he's here for 2-3 years, and all he wants is for us to play good and aggressive football, fast football, week in, week out. Maybe that's what we need, and maybe that would take us to the next step in the championship, because now we have improved our squad. When everyone's fit, we've got a better squad than we did a couple of seasons ago.
I think you'll find that the take away the 4 games that we've had. Before that, we haven't been entertained for 2.5 years.
No.
I disagree.
I would say, when all's said and done, okay, you'll look back and you'll go, Neil Harris, who football? Yes. Look at the fucking cup runs we had. Okay, the progression through the leagues was a lower level, but you can go, Neil Harris gave me this fucking day that I will always, and that's all we're going to get as Mill fans, by the way. We're going to get days you can take to the grave. Leicester, even Brighton. We beat a lot of Premier League teams. We went to Spurs. If Rowett had the opportunity to get a cup run going, he wouldn't try and seize that. So Rowett is, although done all right.
Why don't you think he would seize that? I just don't understand. Where's your evidence for that?
Because we've never gone for it against teams.
Right. Well, we did against Palace. He played the best team that was available to him on that day. He played 19 months with no fans in the stadiums.
So did everyone, though.
Yeah, I'm not. But Dan, you always say that every single time. That's not the point. The point I'm making is that we're going on about he's been playing rubbish football for this long. We finished in the top half of the table.
If you Rowett leaves tomorrow, you go, thanks for the memories, Gal. What memories would you throw out there?
Well, yeah, but okay, but we weren't at loads of those games, so there would be less memories, right? Like, look at some of the games. I don't know. There were some really bizarre results in that, but we beat a couple of teams that then by 4 goals.
Yeah, Bristol City, but they were in the season nothing games.
Bristol City away, Preston away.
I just think when I reflect on Neil Harris, I reflect on Neil Harris's tenure. I go, do you know what? Thank you very fucking much. Not only for the memories, but for walking when you did, because you understand the club. With Rowett, I go, in the last 3 or 4 games, they'll go, do you know what? I can't fucking argue with it. I can't. But,
Do you know what a part of this is? I mean, half of my screen is me and Dan, and the other half of my screen is H and N. And I think
let's switch it about a bit.
It's a 50-50 here on the way that people look at the club, for instance, or why they go to Millwall. I think that maybe H and N are more. Look, I want stability. I want
the chaos, mate. We had the chaos Saturday. I fucking love the chaos.
But if we finish, middle of the table each season, and you, like you said, H, you get a couple of away wins, etc., then you're happy.
Agree with that one.
Whereas me, what I want to see is the passion, the aggression. It doesn't have to be tactical. We don't have to win. It's all them other things, and maybe that's wrong on my part because your options.
It's no wrong or right, mate. It's no wrong or right.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're so conflicted in this. Is that I can turn around and say there isn't one game that I've watched Gary Rowett manage, and I can remember clearly. But I can turn around and tell you what happened minute for minute at Bury away.
Yeah.
All them years ago when we were 2-0 down. And
I'm not saying you were right, Ken. I'm not saying we're right, but that's just. I will always look back on the Neil Harris era as, do you know what? He fucking kicked bollock and bite. It wasn't fucking pretty. We did moan.
Yeah, oh yeah.
that day.
You were Harris out.
I think Rowett could stay another 3 years, and I think we'll go.
You'll still remember the Harris time.
Stays another 3 years, right? If Rowett stays another 3 years, I don't think we'll progress. I think it'll be exactly the same, which is fine. But as Millwall fans, we're never going to win the Champions League. We're never going to probably get promoted. We need those days to reflect. We need those 7 Wembley appearances. We need those fucking cup finals against Man United. We need to be the team we are against all odds. That's what you'll remember when all's said and done. And I'm not saying it's right to look at it that way, but personally, that's how I go. Do you know what? Fucking, that's what happened on that day. Leicester at home in the FA Cup, we fucking went for it and we beat them. And
I do think there's a happy medium. Like, we might never get this medium of meeting in the middle here.
No, we need someone who is that happy medium.
But there is the mould that I always look at in the Championship. Burnley, when they went up under Sean Dyche, played the same 11 players, 4-4-2, used the same 2 subs, pretty much, so 2-3 subs. Sean Dyche made a team, right? They didn't play the best football in the league that year, but they were winning all the second balls. They're attacking the space nice and quickly, and they were fighting for the badge, all 11 of them. And that's why a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, some of them kept their space when they got promoted. Dyche didn't change it around too much. He only makes a couple of signings every year. Obviously, now they've got a bit more quality. But over that season, they were playing how I wish we could play, because that would meet your criteria, and it'd meet the bit more tactical awareness of what we want as well.
Well, I'll argue till we're blue in the face, but the bottom line is, boys, at the end of the day, when all's said and done, there is no right or wrong.
No, yeah.
There's a split in the comments, and this is why we're here to discuss it. And I just feel with Neil Harris, we had more to discuss. We had those magical, we got promoted, League One. I was there with my son, Bradford away as well, Scunthorpe away. And again, I'm alluding to League One, but we had those moments. I don't think under Rowett, we imposed ourselves on the game against Crystal Palace, but it was always a game we was going to lose eventually, in my mind. And I'm not slagging him for that because he's more cautious. I
think you're right on that. The Palace game, if you compared the Palace game to the Everton game, maybe. Now Harris was in charge of the Everton game, wasn't he? Yeah. Just had to make sure then. So
he's sucked into a mad timeline. We don't even remember.
With the Everton game, we went there on that Saturday or the Sunday, whatever it was, right? Thinking that we had a good chance of beating Everton,
and we're going to try and beat Everton.
We're going to give it a go, and this is going to be a blinding game, right? When we played Palace, we knew we was probably going to lose.
How
The
many
fact
players
is,
did we have out injured,
the fact it was a full
Jed
house
Wallace out.
probably gave us that extra bit that maybe if Harris was in charge, I kind of think I'd have gone into that thinking we would get a result. But I think the fact we were a full sellout allowed the players for 90 minutes to really roll their sleeves up. Because when you've got a full house at the Den, you've got to be pretty shit not to do well.
Yeah, and H, I'll answer that question. Like, I know we had injuries in that team, but the thing is, though, is it's not about the quality of player. It's about the mannerism of performance, and you just know that certain players in that team are not going to give it. They're not going to give it for the badge. And when you've got someone like Rowett in charge, he's not going to make them give it for the badge.
Well, like who?
Well, you can definitely go Scott Malone. Scott Malone turns up as and when he wants to. Half the time, he looks like he's sulking. That's
He's having a poor season.
I would have said Ojo, but actually, I think Ojo probably had the best game against Palace.
He played well that game.
And I'd agree with you, Ojo.
Yeah.
The thing is, for me, like Rowett ends up doing the things later down the line that we say he should have done.
About 10 games prior.
Back to there you go. So for me, we all see it. Rowett doesn't see it. And then 10 games later, he does the things that we said, you should have done that fucking 10 games ago. And the guy, someone said in the comments there, the last 3 or 4 wins, why have we not been, okay, confidence plays a part. Why have we not been getting that? Because we've had the same players. In fact, we've got less fucking players.
So do you reckon that sort of being a few steps behind has cost us getting a top 6 one of these seasons? Because let's be honest, we had so many draws. If a few of them draws were wins, we might have been
in Rowett's defence, you can't argue where we are and what we're currently doing. And maybe I'm too impatient. Kenny, maybe you're too impatient. Maybe H was right. And maybe we're eating the fucking form at exactly the right time. Because usually we did it in January, didn't we? We got these 7-game unbeaten runs.
We have the players for the last 2 seasons to be reaching the playoffs unquestionably. Right, even with the injuries that we've had. Now, don't get me wrong, Wallace is a big part of our team, and I appreciate that. You know, that is a little bit of a stumbling block. But unquestionably, see teams Peterborough, Blackpool, Huddersfield, all these places that we've been, and there's a couple of teams at home I can't remember. Preston, we should have beaten Preston. All of these games we should have won. But that, and I argue till I'm blue in the face here. Like,
I'll say though, with the Preston thing,
instruction.
Do you know what done us as a fan base of the Preston thing? We beat West Brom, and then we drew with Preston. And HU was commentating on the Preston game because, and that's where I think we're a little bit Neanderthal as fan. And I'm not shy to say it. We're a little bit like, we beat fucking West Brom. Now we got to beat Preston. The flip side of that happened the other day. We drew the first game, won the second. And strangely, our fans see that as more progression. Do you know what I mean?
I think
there's no one at the Preston game.
Some of the comments are like, you know, we don't have the squad or whatever, or teams are underperforming. The fact of the matter is, we were in a position where if we'd played how we were playing in the games we played well, we would have made that top 6. Whether we were good enough in terms of player for player, pound for pound, maybe not. But the fact is, we were in positions where we could have done it, and we slipped. And whether the teams are underperforming around us or not, granted, but if you're in that position with a month or 2 to go, it's undeniable that there could have been decisions made earlier, changes made in game. I remember there being a real problem with the subs at one point.
He's got much better with that, hasn't he? Yeah.
I remember there was one point last season.
He seems to have flipped that, doesn't he? He seems to have. And Kenny said this to me the other day. He's now making subs like he made Cholton at home. He wants to go and win the game, so he brings on Matt Smith and Aidan O'Brien, by the way, who scored 3 goals in 4 games for Pompey since he joined. He affects the football match because he wants to go and try and win it, as opposed to playing safe and going like for like Harris did as well, for like with Shane Ferguson and whoever else was playing left wing back at the time. You know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. Dave is saying Rowett in, Harris walked because he knew we would get relegated. I don't agree with that. I don't think we was going to get relegated. 10 new players. It was a strange time to leave. But on reflection,
that first half against Luton was poor.
It was dire.
Did we let it against Luton?
Just that first half against Luton.
Wasn't
I
it
just remember
1-1? Like Bradshaw scored that
Yeah,
goal.
that's right. Bradshaw
in the
scored.
second half.
Bradshaw
Second half
actually
will
went on a
come
run
out
from there. Bradshaw scored against Brentford.
Yeah, that's
Bradshaw
it. Bradshaw
scored
went on
against
that run, and then Rowett come in and then
Leeds.
eased him out of
Rowett
the
come
team.
in and never played him. But look, listen, he's not going to get everything right, like Neil Harris.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Didn't. But I don't just something. Still now, it's not just me and Kenny, right? In the comments, there's something that just doesn't sit right for me. And I can't explain it. And it's not an attention-seeking thing. It's not me trying to get views because we're not going to go viral. We support Millwall, so it's never going to go viral, this channel.
It's can he keep us going, Dan? That's what it is, right? This style that we have all agreed, all four of us. The one thing that we have agreed on this evening is that the style we've liked over the last 4 games. And in the comments, there seems to be a lot of a unanimous kind of agreement that if he can keep what he's been doing in the last 4 games going, then actually we're seeing progress and the football's moving in the direction we want it to, and we're starting to see the potential of these players that we've got. And so this is the question really, I think, is when we look to the fixtures this month, are we going to continue seeing that progress, or are we going to go back to the Blackpools, the Huddersfields, the games that Kenny was talking about? That's the real thing for me.
Yeah. Like I said, we beat the teams we shouldn't, and we lose to the teams we should beat. And for me, like H, you said, you're and listen, like Dave just said, fair play to H. And this is what we love. Like, I'm enjoying this. We're not saying that H is right, or me, I'm right, or Kenny's right. We're all debating it, and there is no right or wrong. But you said, you wanted Rowett in, but despite that, in the next 5, you expected him to go. And I think he surprised us all. But I think now this next 5, there you go, Reading away, Blackburn, the game that fucking never was, Middlesbrough. I think this is a bigger test, strangely. And after Stoke is Luton, because they're games that now we're rolling, we expect to get something. And that's when sometimes our arsehole falls out. And this is sometimes when Rowett says, this is on the players now. The players need that belief to take us to the next level.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just down to the fact how hungry are these players. There's an opportunity here, whether you think we're going to do it or not. There's a little window here where some of these players can really make a name for themselves. Is Rowett the guy that can enable them to be even hungrier? I don't know, but what he has done is, give the players a little bit of belief again. And in this league, look, Millwall are a team now. We hold our own in this division. It don't matter if we're got one of the lowest budgets. We're a championship team that can, on any given day, except Fulham, give anyone a game. Now that comes down to whether the players are putting in 100% on the pitch. Because if we don't, we will get found out. If one of these players aren't up for it, especially if we're playing a top 6 team, we won't be good enough. We have to play at our optimum. Over 46 games, some of these players probably can't do that. So I guess with Kenny talking about a new manager, if we were to get a new one, we'd want a manager that can enable them to play as well as possible for as many games as possible.
We want longevity. We want longevity.
Yeah.
It's what any club wants. And I understand it's not ever a good idea to change the manager, but he's been here for however long he's been here for. And you know what? As much as I maybe don't want him in charge, I think Millwall did the right thing, because it's very, very rare a manager will leave and the first one that follows, as we saw at massive clubs like fucking Liverpool and as we saw at massive clubs like Man United, doesn't always work. So I think fair play to Berylson, as we saw in the past. Kenny Jackett leaves, Lomas comes in, fucking Holloway follows him. I think you can give praise in the fact that Rowett comes in, takes advice of Neil Harris as well, and we didn't drop. We went from here to here, and then we usually clubs go boom, boom, but we stayed there, didn't we? And I think we're still there. So I'm not saying if Rowett was to leave tomorrow, I wouldn't say he's done a bad job. But I agree with what John de Beauvoir says. Shout out to John. Good evening, mate. The question, I think Saturday's massive. It's a game we're now expecting to win. What happens Saturday, boys? Talk me through it. Talk me your predictions and views on Reading away, managed by Paul Ince, of course.
Yeah, it's as simple as this for me. If we don't put in maximum effort, they've got something to play for. We'll get found out away from home against a team where you will probably see a little bit more of the ball as well, which is always our downer. when we get given more of the ball, sometimes I feel like we're not well drilled enough to actually pick teams apart. When the onus is on us to go and take it to them. I think if we play our normal away type performance, maybe let them come at us a bit and try and get them on the break, move the ball nice and quick. I think we can win it 2-1. I think we can win it 2-1. I think if I'm going for exact players, I reckon Cooper 2-2, and I'll go with
3-3 with Cooper.
Yeah, Bennett. I think Bennett. If Bennett's fit, I reckon he might get one as well.
Ken?
Sorry.
H.
No. I was going to completely agree and say if Bennett's fit, I completely agree. I think we've got a really good shout. I think if we start Phobie up front, it'll be a draw or a loss. That's my personal feeling, but I think genuinely I do.
Phobie, I went.
Exactly. 2-0. I think we're going to win.
This is the team. I think we're going to win as well. But this is the exact game now where we wasn't confident going into these games against supposed bigger clubs. We're all saying a win. I'm saying I'm shitting on my preview a bit on Thursday, but I'm saying a win. And this is where now we'll get undone. How have we got on there last couple of years? Ken, what's your prediction?
I disagree with John. I don't think Saturday is we don't now pick it on one game when we've just gone and won 4 in the last 4. So look, Reading they're fighting for their lives, aren't they? They've just got a new manager in there. There's always a big push when a new manager comes in, and I think it's going to be a very difficult game for us.
It's going to be difficult.
I think that if we can, Michael's already done it for me, but I think if we could get a draw out of being at Reading, I think that would be a reasonable result. Now, the problem with that is that I'll moan about draws all the time. So. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to play for a draw.
No,
do you know what I mean? This is different. So a draw would be a good result if we're not playing for a draw.
Yeah. It's how we get the draw. Like if we're sitting there and letting them do all the work and we've got to come away with a last ditch point, I'll be disappointed because it shows me that Rowett isn't doing the right thing in the next step of this season. March is a big month, as I keep saying.
Saying that
we've played the last 4 games. Have we won the last 4 games since a Phobie hasn't been starting?
yeah, but I don't think it's down purely to Bennett, and he gives it his all. But
he did score that good goal though, one of his last games before.
If we go into this game with the intention of trying to win it,
yes, I think we have to.
And
why
I
not?
think
If we lose,
I don't believe as well that. I think now this is a point where I'll always point to Rowett, but at this point I'll point to the players. Surely Rowett hasn't got to have much of a team talk here.
I was literally going to say that. Look where you are, boys. If you want it, go and get it.
Yeah, do what you've been doing. Continue as you've been going. And if they don't turn up on Saturday, I won't point to Rowett. As long as he doesn't restrict us. Look, he's going to play 3
as long as it's not a mad tactical piece of rubbish he does.
He's going to play 3 at the back. We understand that, but 2 wing back. It's going to be unchanged again, and rightly so. You can't argue with that. If they don't turn up and perform, Gary Rowett's got 0 team talk Saturday. He goes, right, there you go. Keep fucking rolling. Keep doing exactly what you've been doing, and I'm sure that will be his team talk.
The Derby blueprint, that Derby away. If we can play like that, I don't see us not winning. That Derby away performance, they're fighting for their life. In good form as well, and we done a number on them.
Yeah, we wouldn't mind playing West Brom right now again, would we? Yeah. I think they won their first game, didn't they? And then the second game they got absolutely spanked, 4-1. Again, I was going to say haven't got something to play for, but we have. They're nicely clear of Derby. If they could take advantage of beating us, then they're pretty. I would argue they're almost safe.
Yeah. But then
who's going Reading? That's the question as well in the chat. Says George Sims.
Nah, I can't. I'm going to the Blackburn game.
Blackburn away.
Scheduled one.
Well, midweek.
Yeah. I'm going. I've got to manage to wrangle some work in Burnley of all places, so I'm going to.
You going to slow?
Nah, I don't think so. I'm going to drive back down. want to get the Red Bull out.
Blackburn are missing Brereton, aren't they?
Yeah.
Struggling to score goals. They're another team at the minute. They're for the taking.
But they still got Bradley Dack. I've not seen him in a while.
I think he's been injured.
I think he was on the bench. I can't remember who they played last week. It was on telly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the early kickoff. I watched it in the box. My mate, the Mill Tube, by the way, if you haven't already, please check out his channel. He's fucking more consistent than me, which is fucking difficult. But been going. He's a man now as well. He was obviously a young boy, but things come and go. My boy, I'm going to say, he might kill me, but he didn't go Mill this Saturday, my boy, because he went out with his new girlfriend. Fair shout out to him. But Millwall Tube's there every week. Don't worry about that, and he'll be sticking out vlogs. If you haven't already, please check out his channel. Bradley Dack is back. That rhymes as well. 2,000 of us going to Reading. This is the worry, Trev. This is the worry.
It's a good thing. Full
of confidence, full of beans. 2,000 of us going. All predicting wins. Everything points to a win. You do the math.
Yeah. Well, we're more up and down than my cryptocurrency, I tell you.
XRP to the moon, I thought it was.
Yeah, it's still going to the moon, don't you?
Eventually, but it's just been diverted. Right, boys, I'd love to carry on, but I don't want to keep it. It's 10:15. We've held a fantastic crowd. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in, boys. Thanks. And should we keep this regular?
Yeah, mate. I'm always around.
Who's in next Monday? Yeah, 8 p.m.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Big winner.
Forget this, Tom.
If I remember, you wouldn't believe it's a school teacher, would you? Right.
I'm not. Everyone keeps going. I train the teacher teaches how to teach.
This is why the youth today is fucked up. Henry's pointing at me.
Forget the whole time. I got asked today in a school if I'm a roadman. Are you a roadman?
You are definitely.
You're in a North Face coat. No, I'm not. I work for a charity. What are you talking about? Strength.
Charity begins at home, mate. My fucking left pocket. Right, Dave says, please subscribe, boys. Really enjoyed it, and I'd love to carry on, but I don't want to keep you all. That's all. And by the way, I'm filming with Jermaine Defoe tomorrow. What about that? I'm in Newcastle, heading across to Sunderland to film with Jermaine Defoe.
Getting to do a loan with us next season.
Yeah, he ain't even getting on the pitch for them, though, is he? Stuff not used.
Is he? Is he not?
Yeah, he's not been getting on, mate. I think he's like me, H, and Kenny. His legs are finally gone. Otherwise, we could have been obviously.
Has he ever played for Gary Rowett? Because if the answer is yes, he will be in on loan like Benny Defoe.
Oh dear! Right, cheers, chats. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe if you haven't, because we're 20 subscribers away, and we'll be back next Monday at 8 p.m. Please subscribe to Lions TV. Oh, H, go on.
No, I was saying goodbye, but I was just trying to push off the counter and I missed.
Come on, you Lions. Meh.